The teachers, 400,000 teachers had been vaccinated in the country.
I'm happy to report that the vaccination among the teachers has surpassed our set target for the first phase. You may recall that our set target for public teachers in our public schools was 330,000, and as of this morning, about 350,000 teachers have received their first vaccine. As you know, we have also increased that target by 150,000, therefore to 480. That includes teachers in the private schools.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande hii umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM, Nyeri.
Okay, it looks like traffic starts in Westlands this morning and moving slowly into the city centre. Everywhere else seems to be all right. A little bit of a rumbling on Jogo Road this morning, heading out onto Landis and into the CBD via Kamkunji. Everywhere else seems to be waking up just now. Langata Road is absolutely free, as is Ngong Road. We're also looking at very little movement on the Mombasa road today. Nothing is red, picking up right around the SGR. But before that, it's smooth sailing until you get through that and then out towards Cabanas and the General Motors area. Mombasa Road then is free and clear all the way to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, out through Uhuru Highway and into the city, through to Westlands without too much of an issue. It looks like a breeze a few minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's see how it remains just so. Keep in touch with us on SpiceFMKE on Twitter, a text on 40127. It's Tuesday. Let's see what the day looks like in a bit.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 8 minutes after 6. A very good morning to you, and how are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation on the second day of the week. Well, second day of the working week. It's Tuesday, the 14th day of September 2021. By this time tomorrow, we'll be knowing whether you're going to be paying more for fuel for the next 1 month or not. All speculation has been indicating that, price of fuel is going up, price of fuel is going up. All this is just mere speculation. Msema kweli is the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, who will be releasing their statement later today and telling us how much a litre of petrol is going to cost in various parts of the country for the next 1 month. Ndu?
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You feel well fueled for the day?
Let's see.
Yeah?
As it has just started.
Yeah.
I know if we talk now.
Uh-huh.
as the day goes.
No fit talk 'em now.
No, I'll go tell you. How you did, Joe?
A day, Jerry. My body the inside the clothes.
Very good.
My body the inside the clothes.
Ginger your body well, I beg.
I thank God. I thank God. I thank God. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll have a lot to discuss today. What's happening in the country? What's happening in Laikipia? What's happening in the northern counties and coastal counties where there is starvation? Where this drought has been declared a national what?
Disaster.
Yes. Have they started distributing food or not? We'll be asking to hear from you whether this is happening on the ground, plus all the other things that are happening politically and socially in the country and around the world. That's what we'll be discussing today. So yesterday we got a couple of new vaccines donated by friends. I think the government knew, even though they're coming up with a 14 billion shillings budget for vaccines this year, they knew, well, Kenya tunasaidia angwa tu. Just put 14 billion shillings. We'll get all the vaccines we need. It's a bad attitude, though. But anyway, how many did we get?
Depending on donations, being able to sort your people out seems to be modus operandi, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Don't seem to have too much of an issue.
You always know there's that relative who's going to sort you out.
Okay. All right. So, so I'll tell you about the number of vaccines in a bit. However, we are looking at now total number of 5,356,780 people in the country having been vaccinated, right? Total second doses is 828,000. Total vaccinations at 3,000. Total 3 million, sorry. Total first doses at 2.2 million. So we're looking at second dose intake of 36.5%, and proportion of adults fully vaccinated is just 3.04% in the country. So we received a donation from Poland. That's what you were asking about.
Yes.
And it was 210 doses of the AstraZeneca. So it boosts the numbers that we had last week. So more and more people coming out and getting vaccinated. And with these happy, friendly donations, it makes things a little bit easier. The arrival of the doses, they say, is a welcome boost to the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination program. Later this week, I believe the center, what is the National Emergency Vaccination Rollout Program.
Which one? The one by Dr. Hwale?
Yes.
That one.
Your response program, right? So they're going to be talking to the media, telling them about, this is what we've been doing. This is how we want to continue. These are the challenges that we faced. And we'd like to hear from you in terms of the uptake, what it's been, and the information that we would like you to be able to spread to the general public. So we're going to hear about that later this week. Okay? If we look at the numbers that are still affecting Kenyans to date, 204 new cases yesterday. There seems to be a downward trajectory now in the infection rates. But again, it's all a kind of wait see. This was taken from a sample size of 2,963, 6.9% positivity rate from this, 984 recoveries, and unfortunately 17 reported deaths over the last 30 days. So that's what we're looking at now. It continues. Honestly, the vaccination process is what is being given most attention right now, to say try and get as many people vaccinated as possible. And that is what we should be focusing on. It's interesting because stories coming out of now, the stories surrounding COVID are some of the consequential issues, right? So if you look at different parts of the world, for example, France's former Minister of Health is being investigated over the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is interesting. She stepped down as health minister in February last year to run for mayoral candidates as a mayoral candidate in Paris. Prosecutors looking into government failings are investigating Agnès Buzyn for endangering the lives of others. She left the post in February to run for Paris mayor, saying COVID was low risk. But she later spoke of knowing a tsunami was approaching. It's one of the world's first cases of a minister facing legal accountability for their pandemic response. A special court set up in France in 1993 to investigate government ministers accused of misconduct will decide whether or not to prosecute her. The wording of one of the charges being investigated is failing to fight a disaster. Failing to fight. And the government is saying that they would hold her responsible if she is charged. If she will be charged after this investigation, that's one of the things that she'll be charged on. So hearing in court on Friday, she welcomed the chance to explain herself and establish the truth. She added that she would not let the government's actions or her own be discredited when she did so much to prepare the country for a global health crisis. But previously, note that it had been said that she ignored the tsunami that was about to happen and told the entire country that they were at low risk. We saw the crazy numbers that were coming out of France in 2020. And so now she's being held responsible for this. Can you imagine? On just a skip, jump, and a swim over the other side of the pond, if people were being held responsible for negligence, they didn't say you stole a penny, they didn't say you mismanaged funds, they didn't say you ran that bribery and corruption. No. You fail to act in a situation of disaster to protect people. You could be charged.
Which other side of the pond?
Here.
Oh, here.
Yes. Can you imagine if such a thing were to happen?
I said I'd really like to see us doing a COVID audit of the decision making and the actual. So there's decision making and there's implementation of the decisions. What did we know at what time and what did we do? I think we may score very well in some areas and not score very well in some others. But yeah, in terms of knowing, yes. In terms of having meetings, yes. In terms of the president forming structure, this is how we're going to deal with it, yes. In terms of the structure communicating, we may have issues with the communication. In terms of rolling out, I think we may have some issues here and there, because, the government machinery, it takes long for it to
time.
move, to mobilize. Yeah, and this was an emergency. In terms of how long did it take for us to get the first PPEs in the country? Did we roll them out to the counties, to the hospitals that needed them at that specific time? I think we may need to just do that audit.
It's necessary.
Not to punish anybody.
But to find out exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Right. It's interesting to note that in France, the current health minister also could be summoned before the same judges in the coming weeks. It's part of a wider investigation into the government's pandemic response. Same thing you're talking about now. An audit, including preparedness, policy changes, and its reception of scientific research info into the virus. So the same thing. They're saying, look, now that we're looking at this is what
let's
we've
just
found.
look back and see, okay, so what did we know? What did we do? Did we do this at the right time? What did we inconvenience anybody? Did we let somebody die? Did everybody who's died have to die? Could we have prevented the deaths that we've seen in the country? That's what we'll be discussing anyway throughout today in terms of government response to issues. A very good morning to you. It's 17 minutes after 6. We are live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Are you online? Say hello. We'll be saying hello shortly after we look at the weather forecast.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Conditions in Nairobi this morning at 12. It'll go to highs of 25 today. It's mostly clear in Nakuru at 14, highs of 25. 24 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 13. Out in Eldoret, it's clear at 12, highs of 24 and lows of 12 today. Kisumu this morning is clear at 18, highs of 29 and lows of 18. Kakamega clear conditions at 17, we'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 15. Looking into Mombasa this morning, 23 degrees, it's raining in some parts, highs of 29 and lows of 23. Malindi raining as well at 23, that'll be the low for today, going to highs of 29. Let's look out into Kampala where it's mostly clear at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam this morning is mostly clear at 22. Highs of 30 and lows of 22. Mostly clear conditions in Johannesburg at 13, highs of 25. It's also clear in Lagos at 24, highs of 29. And in Kinshasa, clear conditions at 24, coming down to that low, highs of 34. London this morning is clear at 17, highs of 19 and lows of 15. Looking at a rainy morning in Paris, highs of 24 and lows of 17. And out in Beijing, sunny conditions at 24, highs of 26 and lows of 18. And swinging back to New York, 21 degrees, still Monday night, highs of 29 and lows of 21.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Okay, it's 20 after 6. A very good morning. So, who's online?
A crowd, a sea of people this morning. Brian Alman says, good morning. Governor Chumba tuned in from Doha in Qatar. Busia County is where Vincent Ogutu is. And Collins Kimtai Kipsat says, good morning, guys. Tuned in already from Eldoret. Maulid tuned in from Kilifi. And Isaiah Ombura says, good morning as well. Ondicho, good morning to you. Tuned in from Kwamthusi Mwingi. From Isoge Scheme, Nyamira County. He says, good morning. And shout out to your people, absolutely. James Ngure says good morning as well. Jamal Nanja Kululu tuned in from Kakamega this morning. Chris Bruce says he's tuned in loud and clear. Good for you. Karibu Sana. And Sky Tarish says good morning. Everybody's online this morning. Cedric Kayamba tuned in from the coast today. And Jose J's locked in from Nakuru. Kevin Kipsang says good morning, listening in from Nanyuki in Laikipia. And says, yes, the drought is really ravaging. It's truly a disaster here. And the national government through the devolution ministry nor county government has implemented anything to cushion its residents. I think what the president did is good. I think the president did what he's good at, and it was a PR exercise. Okay. Benson Mumo tuned in from Mombasa today. Looking forward to the Kip Kano Classic on the 18th is what Stanley's talking about today. Yeah. Leslie granddaughter tuned in this morning from Jamaica. Collins Kiptai also says good morning. David Wasibukia says hello. Washira Wilfred is thinking about going back to Gishugu because getting lost in Kitengela is just not a cup of tea. Getting into the city is a disaster.
It's getting lost in the dust of Kitengela.
What with getting lost every time I walk out of the house? Gishugu, 4 streets and you're good.
Yeah.
Nairobi, no.
At least he has in Gishugu, you can just look at that tree and mark the tree.
Exactly. Throw some breadcrumbs and find it.
That tree, my way home.
Kelebogile Modise is tuning from Gauteng this morning. And Lawrence K.M. Kaberia. Wherever there is Eric Latif, you'll always find balanced talk, sober, true, and candid. Bernard Masika says,
hey,
good
Lawrence.
Paka.
Pewa kitu hapo.
Ben Apudo tuned in from Katwekera. CT Amendawa. CT is shooting the breeze.
Kesho.
Shooting the breeze. He'll be here tomorrow. Everybody, we see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. We don't take that for granted.
Indeed. Welcome to the show, everybody. Lawrence Kaberia. Kaberia sounds like a Meru name. I have a Meru proverb this morning. Okay. This one is, it's a Kenyan proverb. An adult goat does not bleed for nothing. An adult goat does not bleed for nothing. In Kemeru kiugaga, Ndengenkuru ititiaga udheri. Ndengenkuru ititiaga, I don't know now that ititiaga, how you pronounce it. Ndenge is the goat.
Ndenge is the goat?
Yes, it's the belly goat. Okay. In Kikamba, Mboi nene ndetiva mana. Mboi nene ndetiva mana.
Mboi is good.
Yes, mboi. Mboi nene ndetiva mana.
Okay.
An adult goat does not bleed for nothing. Okay? Now let's look at the papers, and as we look at the papers, we'd like you to check out the papers with us. Would you like to read the Standard e-paper? Yes, you can do that. Just for 10 shillings daily, go to epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and you'll be able to subscribe. That's epaper.standardmedia.co.ke. Alternatively, if you have a Safaricom line, dial star 207 star 207 star 15 hash. Star 207 star 15 hash. You'll be able to subscribe to the Standard and Nairobi newspapers on your Safaricom line to order them directly to your doorstep at no extra charge around Nairobi. You want the paper brought to you physically. Star 207 star 15 hash. Especially this happens, when you just don't want to get out of the house. And you're thinking, I want to read the paper. And star 207 star 15 hash. It will be delivered right to your doorstep at no extra charge anywhere around Nairobi. Or you can visit any Naivas, Quickmart and Carrefour supermarket outlets over the weekend and buy the Standard and Nairobian supermarket bundled at 100 bob. 100 shillings, you get the Standard and Nairobian together in any of those Naivas, Quickmart and Carrefour supermarkets. What are you looking at in the papers?
Okay, so covered on it, interesting because food wasted can feed 10 drought-hit counties for 2 years. This is what is being reported in a special report on the Standard today. In as much as we're looking at the game of numbers and how the IEBC hopes to recruit 6 million new voters in this upcoming election, we'll look at that in a bit. But this is interesting that the amount of food that's being wasted around the country can actually feed the number of people who are currently suffering. President Kenyatta declared the drought a national disaster after a report shows a big loss of food by farmers due to challenges in storage and transportation of produce to the market. It's a special report carried on page 4 and 5. Country loses 965 million kilograms of food as hunger bites. In 2020, 965 million kilograms of food went to waste, tossed out or left to rot, according to a report that tries to track food waste. It's equivalent to 89,351 trucks with a capacity of 120 90 kg bags, an analysis of data from the Economic Survey 2021 reveals. The massive loss of food by farmers due to challenges in managing, storing and transporting their produce to the market comes at a time when President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared drought in 10 counties a national disaster. According to State House spokesperson Kanzi Dena, consequently, the President has instructed the National Treasury and the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government to spearhead government efforts to assist affected households with water and relief food distribution, as well as livestock uptake. So we're looking at counties that include Mandera, Isiolo, Garissa, Marsabit and Wajir, Turkana, Samburu, Kilifi, Tana River and Lamu. The quantity of food lost is more than enough to feed the 6.7 million people living in the 10 counties that have been hit by the drought. Beans, one of the crops that the state is looking for to distribute to the hunger-stricken population, is one of the worst hit, with the country losing a fifth of the domestic supply. The data shows that last year the country lost 158 million kilograms of what?
Beans.
An increase from 149 million in 2019. This means that the residents of the 10 counties could each get 23.5 kilograms, a supply that is enough for almost 2 years, with the official data showing that every Kenyan consumed an average of 13 kilograms of beans. This breaks my heart.
First of all, this is an applause to Dominic. The fact that we have such a very well done story, Dominic Omondi at the Standard, a very, very good job. Now, these are the stories that we want to see, not at kelele mingi. This is it. The data is released by the government and then we go through it and find where the stories are.
Right.
This is a very, very good story. We have, in fact, last week when we were talking to the agri boss in Kenya, he was telling us about the same thing. Post-harvest losses across the entire food spectrum that we have in the country is huge. And here it is. National government data is showing that we have been harvesting. We produce 1.8 kilograms of potatoes every year. 10% goes to loss. Wasted. Beans, 20%. That's a lot. When you've produced only 790 million kilograms of beans, and then 158 million goes to waste, that's huge.
Yep.
And it all talks about that entire value chain not being taken care of. Farmers are producing. Farmers don't have proper storage facilities. Markets are not well segmented such that they can receive this produce. We don't have good roads that then would take goods to the market. This is it. When these losses are huge. Just look at everything else, even vegetables.
You know what
excluding tomatoes and onions, vegetables, we produce 2.5 billion kilograms of vegetables, and 82 million kilograms is lost. 82 million kilograms being lost. This talks about the farmer losing, talks about traders losing at some point, talks about a consumer not getting the produce. It means
the deep thing is that when you look at it, these are all losses that could have been avoided. That there are mechanisms that could have been put in place for storage, for example. Transport is an issue. And when you look at that, that transport being an issue, a lot of times farmers are not able to take their goods to market because of the poor state of roads in particular rural areas, right?
Yeah.
So that's one issue. Then now you have foods that need proper storage. And we're not just talking about freezers and things like that. We're talking about barns for storage that actually require the material to make sure that they don't rot. My mind has lost the name for that right now. But those facilities in a lot of these areas don't exist, and the reason why farmers oftentimes have to let their food rot or go to waste is because they don't exist. And
It's
these
an
are
entire-
things that can be avoided.
food is cold chain. Invest in cold chain from the smallest unit to the market, and you have retained the quality of food and the freshness of food. Now, how much do we think about cold chain? In fact, if you talk about cold chain in any way, having a conversation with people about meat and cold chain, first of all, the consumer does not really believe that when you go to a supermarket and you find those things that have been put there in the chillers, that's fresh. You're thinking,
It's been here for a minute.
this thing has been here for a minute.
Yeah.
So the consumer perception needs to change. That you need to go in there and find if it has actually been handled under cold chain, then it's still fresh. But no, we've still got perceptions. Let's discuss this a bit later, right? In greater detail and see what does this mean. Country facing starvation, a lot of food going to waste from production, between production and market. What could have been done to save this? What investments are required? 27 minutes to 7. Take a break, take a look at the traffic, and then we continue. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Nosingishi was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here.
I don't know what's going on, but it looks like Mombasa Road traffic is not too crazy this morning. Somebody want to prove me wrong? It doesn't look too bad. Inbound traffic on Mombasa Road is actually looking quite spectacular in that it's not too heavy, and hopefully it remains that way. Unless there's something that we do not see, kindly let us know. But for now, it looks like you can get in and out of Mombasa Road without too much of a scratch. All right, we're also looking at Langata Road this morning, and that's building up from the Wilson Airport out into that direction. It's building up slowly, and also coming off of Langata Road through to Aerodrome Road at the roundabouts then of Bunyala also into the city centre looks great. Perhaps we truly have started this Tuesday off right. Jogo Road, quite some traffic then around Makadara, headed out towards the roundabout at the City Stadium and then on towards Landys Road. Traffic is moving smoothly without too much of a hold-up. Coming out of Westlands looks hot and heavy already. Looking at the Thika Superhighway, backed up all the way to Survey today, and we're looking at Kiambu Road building up slowly, not too terrible at the moment, getting off then towards the Pangani underpass on the Thika Superhighways where you're going to see a spot of trouble. But apart from that, it looks pretty good. The bypass is performing splendidly this morning. Southern, Eastern, Northern and the Red Hill Link Road offer you good options to get in and out of the city centre. Let's use those. Are you stuck somewhere? Let us know. Mombasa Road, is it true that it's not too much traffic? Please talk to us. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, Kenya's biggest conversation, it continues. So now that we're still talking about food, let me just do this one. Okay. Ati, how much potatoes are we growing per year? Check in the story.
Oh, just a minute. Dun, dun, dun.
The number of kilograms of warus.
In a year, potato total production in 2020, 1.8 billion kgs. All right. Total lost 186 million. 10% of that which was produced is lost.
Okay. Now, potato farmers in Nyandarua County have moved to the High Court seeking to orders to have the crops regulations 2019 suspended. Under a certificate of urgency, the farmers, traders and transporters are seeking legal protection to freely engage in trading, marketing, packaging and the processing of the product. In a petition filed at the High Court in Naivasha, the farmers, through Haki Jamii and South Nyandarua Potato Dealers Association, want the regulations declared unconstitutional. It comes in the wake of increased arrest and harassment of farmers, traders and transporters by county enforcement officers for contravening the law meant to protect them from brokers. The law is meant to protect who from who? Protect the farmers from brokers. Who has gone to court? The potato dealers. Who are those? Those are the brokers. The farmers argue that the regulations came into law without their involvement, adding that the penalties are punitive, unreasonable, and they don't commensurate with potato farming and loading. Remember, we even discussed this. The new regulations came into effect and they said the size of a potato bag shall be the 90 kilogram.
Yes.
That whole nonsense of putting 2 bags and then adding another one and then saying that is a bag. Yeah. No. There shall be the regulations on who is trading in potato farming. Just go and register yourself if you're trading in potato farming. So we know basically all these things ostensibly are meant to protect the farmer. The farmer now has gone to court through this Haki Jamii and South Nyandarua Potato Dealers Association, and they're saying, no, this thing, we have been harassed too much by the county officials. In an affidavit sworn by Karobia Kiratu from Haki Jamii, they say since the regulations were enacted into law, the petitioners' vehicles have been detained, adversely affecting the transportation of the produce. The move to detain these vehicles is compromising potato farming in Nyandarua, and unless this law is stayed, the farmers will suffer losses, as potato is their mainstay and livelihood. It's subjecting farmers and traders to financial loss, while the implementation agencies are enforcing punitive fines. Well, I'm not seeing farmers in this.
No. Where are they?
Yep. The traders say they are representing the farmers.
It's like the wolf says, I'm wearing sheep's clothes. I'm protecting you.
Right.
That ain't happening.
Uh-huh.
So, City might be or not be happy to hear this. How banks minted billions lending to the state. Treasury's borrowing from the domestic market shot up 50% to 1.3 trillion, a third of the nation's budget. The cash crisis that hit the national government last year made lending to the state the most lucrative venture in the pandemic year, according to a new report.
Right.
The economic survey, again, the same survey that talks about the wastage in the food in the country, or the loss in the country, is the same one that talks about this.
Yeah.
It shows that other industries were battered by the effects of COVID-19. Commercial banks, however, took advantage of the government's borrowing binge to mint millions of shillings. Treasury's borrowing from the domestic market shot up by 50% in 1 year as the government sought to remain afloat. The borrowing spree suffocated the private sector, which was squeezed out of the debt market. This handed banks and other investors 450, explaining the huge profits that commercial banks have been reporting in recent months. The survey published by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Thursday shows that credit to the government shows 50.9% to 1.35 trillion, up from the 900 billion in 2019. It's a far cry from credit to the private sector, which grew by 8.4% to stand at 2.89 trillion at the end of December 2020. This means that the national government outcompeted the private sector, elbowing it out as it sought to plug the budget deficit worsened by the pandemic. So the government did a pretty bunch of borrowing, and
went to the banks. The banks were happy. You went, come take.
Come and
take.
They made money.
They
While
made
everybody
money.
else was suffering, commercial banks really.
When we were discussing this with
pound of
City, I mean,
flesh.
when we were discussing about when the banks were releasing the results, and each of them was showing a jump in their profits, half-year profit, and we were saying, so
Where did it come from?
yeah, and then also looking at the percentage of the non-performing loans also shrinking, and wondering, so what's happening here? A lot of the money was actually going to the government.
Yes, it was going to government.
It was lending the taxpayer and not lending the private sector.
And not putting it actually in the hands of the taxpayer.
Okay. Remember, once upon a time, there used to be a governor in Nairobi. His name was Mike Muthui Sonko. You remember him?
You speak of him like he's late.
Once upon a time.
Okay.
Now, Mike Muthui Sonko claims that he's broke. He has gone to court and is asking the court to allow him access 15 million shillings that he deposited as cash bail when he was charged with corruption. The ex-governor, in an application filed at the High Court, said he cannot take care of his needs, including paying school fees for his children, because his accounts were frozen, and he wants to be allowed to substitute the cash bail with other assets as security to save him from a financial meltdown. I'm asking the court to be allowed to deposit security in place of the cash bail so that I'm able to access the money for purposes of attending to my health, paying school fees for my children, paying my lawyers, and catering for my daily needs and those of my family. According to the former county chief, he has no other source of income to support his family, and that he has secured 3 high-end vehicles worth 30 million shillings, which he wants to surrender to court as security in place of the cash bail. His lawyer, Philip Kaingu, submitted that the law allows an accused person to either deposit cash bail or security in a criminal case, and that no prejudice will be suffered by the prosecution if he's refunded the 15 million shillings. Murudishie to your 15 million at a letter logbook ya gari tatu. Okay? Those 3 vehicles, same. You have security. But at least the man has some liquid cash. He can pay school fees for his children. He can pay us, the lawyers. He can go to hospital and be able to take care of his medical bills. Man has got to leave. And the man is broke. And you know, this man, apart from the job of running the county, he didn't have any other source of income. And then all the other money that he had, the accounts have been frozen.
Surely. Pending investigation. Yeah.
So can we just at least...
Something the court can consider.
Wishe.
Right. Something the court can consider. I mean, if he's going to do a swap, then it should be all right, no?
He's saying, I have not absconded court. The cases have been proceeding.
When
I am
asked to
behaving
show up, I
well.
show up.
So, come on.
Do this for me.
Yeah.
Speaking about another person in court, Gisharo's trial at The Hague is to be limited to Kiswahili and English. It'll be interesting because it'll be hard for the ICC to follow witnesses who do not speak Kenya's national language. This is after the registry revealed that the prosecution and defense indicated that the witnesses stick to English or Kiswahili. Court says it will not be able to provide translation for any other language. It will protect witnesses based on the level of risk reported to the registry. The Hague-based court's registry, in its submission filed before the Trial Chamber 3, says it will not be able to provide translation for any other language. The parties have informed the registry that the witnesses they presently intend to call will testify either in English or Swahili. The registry will be in a position to provide interpretation in these languages using in-house resources as well as freelancers. This is according to Marc Dubuisson, and he submitted this yesterday. For the sake of completeness, if any other Kenyan spoken language were to be spoken, the registry would not, at this time, be in a position to guarantee that resources would be available to meet interpretation needs. At the same time, the registry says it will protect witnesses based on the level of risk reported to them. This will involve shifting the witnesses and their families out of the country being Kenya. Gisheru will attend the status conference scheduled for the 24th of September virtually. Trial Chamber 3 Judge Miata Maria Samba granted Gisheru's request on the condition that he will link up with the court's registry to ensure the session is not delayed. The chamber reminds the defense that it is the responsibility of the defense to liaise with the registry and ensure the attendance of the accused via video technology to avoid any delay. This thing is moving faster than
Okay. So ICC does not understand Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Kamba,
neither will they provide for people who only understand that. So your witnesses, they want to talk to us.
Manaongea Kiswahili.
Kizugu.
Bas. It's 6:45. Let's take a quick break and then we'll look at more headlines shortly. A very good morning to you. This is Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done
All right.
right.
So there's
94.
something that's happening in some counties, and especially Nandi County, that is of some concern. Education officials in that county have summoned secondary schools principals over increasing cases of student strikes. Nandi County Commissioner Herman Shambi and the County Director of Education, Zachary Muthui, directed the principals to promote dialogue and address complaints raised by students to curb the unrest in schools. Why are we talking about this? Because the investigations have been launched into recent cases where students from 8 schools went on strike because of suspected internal incitement from teachers who are not comfortable working with new principals. Among the secondary schools affected are Barngetuni Mixed Day Secondary School, Aldai Girls School, Chepkumia, Toulon, Moine Adventist, Kemloi, Dalat Girls, and Our Lady Peace Secondary Schools. The rioting students at Our Lady of Peace and Dalat Girls complained of poor hygiene and a shortage of latrines.
It's enough to strike.
Those from Barngetuni Secondary School went on the rampage over a shortage of teachers. The school has 3 teachers from the TSC after recent transfers of 4 teachers. They said this has curtailed teaching as the day school cannot afford to hire teachers through the board. So the school has 3 teachers.
The whole school.
4 were transferred. The board cannot afford to hire. I think they have some 1 or 2 maybe board teachers, but they can't afford to hire more. So basically, 4 teachers were transferred, no teachers were brought in, so left a gap. So of course, the students of Barngetuni Secondary School are like,
what are we doing?
Strike. Students from other schools complained of tough punishment and harassment by teachers. According to Mr. Shambi, who is, I said he's who? He is the county director. No, he's the county commissioner, Herman Shambi. He says, our observation is that the students are becoming fatigued and intolerant to minor problems that the schools are going through. He says some schools hit by teacher shortage have presented their need to the TSC. A report should be presented to the Ministry of Education for additional teachers and management changes in these respective schools. The County Commissioner says education stakeholders have moved to overhaul some academic institutions to curb repeat strikes. We have a team going around the institutions, interrogating the students and teachers on challenges that they are facing. Some county education directors have been asked to summon crisis meetings with principals to establish the cause of recent cases of students' unrest. If there's teacher shortage, the TSC needs to address this. If there's shortage of latrines, that is a big issue. And we cannot just say that, teachers are being, students are being incited. No. If there were enough toilets, they would not be using that as an excuse to strike.
It might have been something else, which then you would be able to pinpoint and say what the problem is.
Yeah.
But my question is, what happens to education officers? According to the way
they're the ones who are summoning everybody else.
According to the way the ministry is structured, there's supposed to be oversight, and education officers, that is one of their roles. So in different schools, by the time things have gotten to the point where they're
students
rolling
are
over
taking
into
action.
strike,
Yes.
What has that oversight role become? What has been happening there? That education officers have no idea what's going on until there's a strike. That's the problem. Until it blows up, that's when now you start asking questions or now trying to find out what process have been taking place.
Na wataki magoha waita wajinga.
So, what do you think is going to happen?
Nikisema wewe ni mjinga nitakuwa nimekosea? No, they don't want that. But by the time students are going on strike because of such amenities are few, toilets,
existent not,
shortage of latrines. In fact, even the students themselves are talking about latrines, not just toilet. Latrines.
That the ones that are there, either they are full, there's a problem, there's something.
Yes.
They're now extra that don't even exist. By the time they're children,
yep,
who most times are carefree, by the time they're complaining about something like this,
there's an issue.
There is an issue
that needs to be addressed. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
I'm still asking where the education officers are.
And I agree with you. That's a very good and valid question. That's a very, very valid question. Those education officers that the county commissioner is saying, okay, county commissioner and the county director of education, those are the ones the county director of education should first of all be answering these questions.
Yeah. What have your people been doing? What's going on? How did you know?
How can 4 teachers be transferred?
And then
and what you're doing is just writing a report. 4 teachers.
That means there's a deficit.
School is left with 3 teachers.
An entire school has 3 teachers.
And you've not raised this issue.
These are government employees. The teachers are not hired by school. They're hired by government.
Yes.
So, and the transferring being done by government.
Yep.
So as you were transferring, what was supposed to fill the gap? Do you see our problem? Can you see the problem? Meanwhile, in Laikipia, calm has returned, kind of. But the majority of teachers and pupils have been told to keep off school. After a month of the violence that left 8 people dead and 150 families displaced from their homes, Monday, schools in All Moran, Laikipia West recorded a low turnout of pupils after a month of indefinite closure following a wave of insecurity perpetrated by suspected bandits and invasion of herders. According to Laikipia West Sub-County Director of Education, Josephine Thuranira, All Moran Ward has a total of 21 primary schools, out of which 16 had experienced total paralysis of learning. The ward has 5 secondary schools, out of which 1 had been closed down. A spot check yesterday established that a majority of the schools remained shut after learners failed to turn up despite the government assurance of security. So government is coming and saying, guys, everything is all right. You may continue with your life as usual. Everybody says, whoa. Not happening.
This is not happening.
No. Parents are keeping their children at home. They don't want to hear long stories.
It's fear.
Yes. It's fear.
There's still a lot of fear.
Because they have seen this happen before. They do not trust that this calm that you're talking about is everlasting.
And yes, the National Police Service also was sharing those pictures and images. A classroom where there are just a few pupils in class, and around them is people holding guns.
Surely. What wholesome and complete
In 2021, Republic of Kenya, that is an image. In fact, let me just look for it. The National Police Service Twitter. Ministry of Interior, KE, had a better one. Ministry of Interior had schools in Olmoran have reopened, okay, and in line with government directive and assurance that this is going to happen. So they have police guard outside the school. There's a photo here of a police vehicle, Romoruti Police Station. And on top of this vehicle, 4 police officers holding guns. Behind this vehicle is another vehicle with more police officers holding guns, and they are inside the vehicles just outside the classroom. Now, you are students, you're sitting there, and you're just seeing these guys with guns, and you know that you're hearing gunshots just the other day, and you'll be able to concentrate and focus and know, okay, now at least that's
taken care of.
That's a security.
Now I'm learning.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. Meanwhile, the government has actually deployed those serious police officers. Rapid Deployment Unit, GSU, Special Services, and the Anti-Stock Theft Unit have all been deployed to Laikipia, around the areas of the Laikipia Nature Conservancy and its environs. These are seriously skilled police officers. The GSU, the Special Services of the AP, the Anti-Stock Theft, and the Rapid Deployment Unit, seriously skilled. They have those armored personnel vehicles. They have serious firepower. They have not yet killed anyone or arrested anyone, but they are there on the ground.
It's optics.
A couple of days after this happened, we have not heard anyone saying we have arrested 17 of those people. We are taking them to court. We have arrested we have disarmed. No report yet of any disarmament that has taken place, despite deployment over 400 police officers to this particular area. Meanwhile, our politicians must have just something to do, right? Remember, this operation is because this area has been declared a what? A security zone by the National Security Council, and there's a deployment of officers. The Senate Committee on Security yesterday toured the county on a fact-finding mission after weeks of violence that has claimed at least 10 people and displaced dozens of families. Led by Kisumu Senator Fred Outa, the committee visited the troubled Olmoran, Wangwashe, and Muthui locations in Laikipia West. He said, "We're here to find out what's troubling this country. This county will push all the promises that the government has made to the people of Laikipia and ensure they've been effected. We'll do whatever it takes to ensure peace has been restored, even if Parliament has to declare the Laikipia Nature Conservancy a war zone so that the government can send all its machinery here. We want to know the financials of these criminals and those behind the cattle rustling and meat business syndicate."
Today.
Even if Parliament declares this thing, the Laikipia Nature Conservancy, a war zone. The National Security Council did this last week. Was Fred Outa in this country? Parliament goes and declares, and then what?
Then?
It has the government is already acting. So you come up with a motion and say, declare this place a war zone. We did that 17 days ago. Okay, now then.
Add more police officers.
Add more police officers. Yeah, we have 400 on the ground. What else do you want?
It's wanting to be part of the party when clearly you need to lend a voice to something without looking at what actually is going on.
Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula pledged to table a motion that would declare the Laikipia Nature Conservancy a dangerous zone. It's been declared. He said the motion would compel the government to take over the management of the conservancy and deploy the Kenya Wildlife Service officers to secure it. Now that's the other angle to that story. What exactly is this that's happening around Laikipia? Could there be underhand deals? Now, that whole statement there, declare the Laikipia Nature Conservancy
and deploy
KWS, bring it to the management of the government.
Why? Who owns or who has majority stakeholding
The Laikipia Nature Conservancy
this land
is basically somebody's property.
It is.
Okay?
And we do not like to know that this individual or these individuals who hold this property, we don't want.
The Laikipia Nature Conservancy, it's known. The Cook-Gilman family has owned this land for a while.
Yes.
The National Security Council said there are some people who have political power, who work in senior civil servants, who are local political leaders, who have taken their cattle illegally into somebody's land called Laikipia Nature Conservancy. Now, where is this whole talk of maybe we should take over the Laikipia Nature Conservancy?
And stop all this warring.
Yeah, I'm not saying much, but Shamba ya Mutu, ego matatani. Kenya's biggest conversation, it continues into the next hour. Are you awake? Of course you are. Let's find out where you are. Let us know. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're also on www.spicefm.co.ke. In the next hour, we talk about food security. So we've got about 3 million people who are facing starvation. The government has declared this a national disaster. But we look back and see that we are producing food and it's going to waste at alarming rates. A very good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. 3 Central Kenya MPs have expressed confidence that they'll attain unity of the region before the 2022 general elections. Speaking in Nyeri Town MP Ngunjiri Wambugu Ndaragwa's Jeremiah Kioni and his Mwaya counterpart Kabinga Withau said that in time the mountain will speak in one language.
Unity for our region is driven by purpose. We don't just unite for the sake of it. And what has always happened is, you look through history, every time we need to vote as a block, we vote as a block. The other times we might disagree, we might fight, but when we actually need to go and make a decision, we always make a decision as a block. And even now, in 2022, it will not be different. In fact, the calls you're seeing are the various formations now starting to come together, because ultimately, the agenda for 2022 for our region is a common agenda.
We shall negotiate to ensure that, number one, our economic development activities continue, like the road that is coming all the way from Keno. We shall ensure that whoever comes doesn't touch our tea, coffee, and doesn't touch our rice.
Politicians will soon sign a political decency charter in its latest efforts by National Cohesion and Integration Commission to tackle hate speech ahead of next year's polls. The commission has vowed it won't tolerate hate speech and warmongering moving forward, even as it scaled up action against offenders by ensuring they're banned from elected positions, public office, and eventual blacklisting internationally.
I want leaders of all the registered political parties to consider signing a political decency charter, which will say that a politician who is involved in hate speech, ethnic contempt, etc., will not be cleared to run for elections. That is what the politicians fear the most. That is what we are going to work with the political parties so that we manage to have some decency in our politics.
NCIC Chairman Samuel Kobia said they will hold a series of symposia before June 2022 that will hold politicians and leaders accountable as part of its roadmap towards election attaining peaceful 2022 general elections. He further says they already have a list of 6 politicians who can serve as an example to the rest.
Kenyans think that the politicians don't care if they are put on the wall of shame by NCIC. Actually, they do care, because since I published that and said this number of people, we have 6 politicians on that wall of shame, the hate speech instances have gone down considerably, and that is what we want to build on.
Some residents of Uasin Gishu County have advised religious leaders to control politicians' communication in churches instead of banning politics in those areas. Led by Pius Maritim and John Tarus, they have said that many churches rely on politicians to raise funds for church activities. They have argued that although there are politicians who flock to churches during campaign period only, there are those who are true believers and there is a need for them to be recognized in the churches.
Ingawa tunawaona wanasiasa wengi inapokaribia uchaguzi wanafurika makanisani, lakini baada ya uchaguzi hatuwaoni makanisani. Lakini pia tuna wale viongozi ambao tunawajua kwamba wao ni waumini kweli, wamekuwa kwa makanisani katika maisha yao yote. Labda mambo ambayo viongozi wa dini wangeangazia zaidi ni kwamba wanapopewa nafasi hao viongozi wasiende pale mbele kutoa matamshi ambayo hayaambatani na mambo ya dini.
Kabianga University has been closed indefinitely after students protested against the increase of tuition fees. In a letter signed by the university's Vice-Chancellor Elijah Mwanga, all students were ordered to leave the college. The students, many of whom had just retired to college, claimed that the administration has increased tuition fees without their knowledge.
40% fee increment. Why? Comrades power.
We are so tired. We are really tired as comrades of the University of Kabianga. The fees are being hiked and the service delivery is so mediocre. Right now we need them to remove a statement that the fee increment has been declined because we are so tired and we need the services of the University of Kabianga to be of quality.
Elsewhere, multimedia university lecturers and staff protested and disrupted academic activities at the university to complain about the non-compliance with their 2017 CBA agreement. They protested and demanded the dismissal of the university's Vice-Chancellor Professor Festus Kaberia. A Nairobi Metropolitan Services Director General Mohammed Badi presided over the unveiling of a 500-litre per minute oxygen plant at MP Shah Hospital. Badi said the plant would boost the rise for the need of oxygen by COVID-19 patients in Nairobi County hospitals. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, so I guess the dream situation didn't last too long. Traffic is already still right now actually building up just a little bit on Mombasa Road, but actually not so badly. It's looking pretty good today on Mombasa Road. Well done. Okay, coming off the thicker superhighways where we're going to see a little bit of a spot of trouble here and there. Not too bad. Just past Roy Sambo, and then you get towards Survey, and there's a break in that traffic there. And then coming off Kiambu Road today is actually not too bad. Coming to the city centre a few minutes past 7 o'clock. Also looking like traffic coming out of Westlands, outbound, not too much of an issue. Inbound from Limuru Road also is building up quite some. Langata Road completely packed all the way to the roundabout at T-Mall. The Southern Bypass, however, and then going the Rungong Road option right round into the city probably is an option that you can use and enjoy the ride this morning. Let's keep an eye on things. Help us out. SpiceFM KE. Is it true what we're seeing? Mombasa Road not so bad today? Talk to us there. Spot on. Text as well. 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. In the room is Nduoko and Eric Latif. C.T. Muga should be in the building tomorrow morning, God willing. Today we have a Kenyan proverb. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. The Kamba will say, Mboi nene ndetiva mana. Mboi nene ndetiva mana. And the Meru would say, Ndenge nkoro etetiaga oderi.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the Etitiaga pronunciation in Kimeru. And then Genkuru, Etitiaga Oderi. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. So let's not bleat for nothing.
Okay.
Let's just talk about what's happening in the country.
Make it for something.
The government, last week, the president held a meeting with the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, the Cabinet Secretary for Devolution and Asals, the National Drought Management Authority, plus leaders from these counties that are affected by drought. And at the end of that meeting, the president declared drought a national disaster and directed the Ministry of Interior and others to coordinate urgent distribution of relief foods. However, at the same time last week, the same Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury released the economic statistics. And the statistics had many things showing how the economy has performed, various sectors that are doing well, various sectors that are challenged, various things that are important to take note of. One of the things that was very important to take note of is our food production and our food consumption. And there are some big revelations this morning in the Standard.
Quite some.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at big numbers, guys. 965 million. Put that in your head and then realize that we're not talking just about cash that's flowing, but we're talking about kilograms of food that could essentially save people who are suffering the bite of hunger currently. And it's what was lost. It's not what is available sitting in a barn somewhere waiting for distribution around the country. This is food that was lost. And the same economic survey that was released by the Treasury is that this is what happened in the last 365 days. It's the equivalent to almost 90,000 trucks with a capacity of carrying 120 90-kilometer bags.
90 kilogram bags.
Sorry, 90 kilogram bags, right?
Yeah.
So it's the equivalent of 120 carrying 90 kilogram bags. It's a massive loss of food by farmers due to challenges in managing storage and transporting their products to the market. And it comes at a time when drought has been declared a national disaster. So what we're essentially saying is that the food lost could have fed the people who are hungry today. And even though a drought had come, there would have been resources available to mitigate the starvation that is being caused by this drought. We're not saying that the food provided would stop the drought. The drought is going to come anyway because of geographical patterns and weather patterns and the like. But we're saying that the problems that people are currently facing today, where children who should be going to school are feasting on wild fruits to ward off hunger as the drought bites, same things that are happening in this country, there would have been adequate storage to be able to feed them. Let's even go just a little further. There are regions that don't even have a place as we speak to store their surplus maize. There are some regions that are facing hunger. Farmers in the North Rift are struggling to find a market for their surplus produce. They have all this food. They do not know what to do with it. They do not have adequate places to store it. Now, can we see where the loss would come about? That the barns are full. They don't know where to keep it before to take it to market. So we're dealing with issues of management. We're dealing with issues of now adequate infrastructures for people to be able to take food from farm to market. And then we're looking at, storage. It's not happening. We don't have enough, and we don't have the proper storage materials or storage facility to be able to keep almost 965 million kilograms of food from going to waste. This is what we're faced with today. That perhaps had these things been instituted before, we would not have a situation where people don't have food. This food could then be redistributed around the country. There are people who farm today who have a place to store it. The government looking for food would be able to buy it off of them and then redistribute it in the country. But it's lost. It's gone. Never to come back again. That's the situation that we're looking at. Let's just look at some of the crops. Potatoes, like we looked at. 186 million lost in 2020. 202 million lost in 2019. Total production of beans, 790 million kgs. Food loss in 2020, 158 million. Food lost in 2019, 149 million. More lost in 2020 than in 2019. 105 million kgs of tomatoes lost in 2020. This is almost double that which was lost in 2019. I think of tomatoes and I cry because there's so many things that you can do with tomatoes. You can can them, you can dry them, they can be kept in national storage, you can use them for something later, reconstitute them and use them. Fruits, 1.3 billion kg were produced. We lost 101 million kgs of those. That's a 7.8% loss, and that's up from 90 million kg loss in 2019. Let's look at maize. 4.2 billion kgs produced. 88 million kgs of maize lost, up from 51 million kgs lost in 2019. Vegetables, 2.5 billion kgs produced in 2020. 82 million kgs of those lost, up from 75 million lost the year before. Sweet potatoes, 686 million produced in 2020, 69 million, about 10% lost, down from 92 million kgs in 2019. There are many reasons across board why the food is lost, but each and every one of those reasons, interestingly enough, could have been avoided.
You know, what causes these post-harvest losses? Very many people, researchers, people in the agricultural sector, people in the food chain have been talking about this for a while. Some of those are poor management, storage, and conveyance as the crop is moving from the farm to the market. And we can just basically see this. We are talking about post-harvest losses. A farmer has produced, the farmer has brought the produce ready for market. Now, from the moment that product leaves the farm, going towards the market, that's where the losses are taking place. And in fact, we were even discussing last week with the agro boss in the country, John Mashari, and we were talking about, look at how are we handling the maize. Let's talk about maize. So maize, you have dried it. In the process of drying, there are losses. Then you have taken it and put it in the sack. In the process of transporting it from the farm, from that drying place, just to the silo to go and sell it at the cereals and produce board, there are losses because it's peeling from the bags. And then that is just maize that's gone. Same thing happens with skuma wiki. Same thing happens with tomatoes. The handling of the food through the value chain to the market, losses. No cold chain investment, losses. At the market end, if it's not taken up in good time, food goes bad. If you go to Marikiti today, you will find at the end of the day, a lot of food that basically is just going to waste at the point of handling, at the point of it not having been bought, and then it just goes to waste. All these things have been discussed previously by the government. The government has been talking about the creation of a commodity exchange to save farmers from being exploited by brokers. All these things, cold storage trucks are ideal for transporting perishable goods. How do we transport our perishable goods? It's Kanta. You meet with those things coming from Nyandarua.
The way they've been thrown.
It's carrying all the sukuma, all the cabbage. It's bringing to the market. A lot of losses are taking place there. Counties have started to do some work. Makueni started doing some work. Even Kitui and Elgeyo Marakwet coming up with factories, that can start processing some of this at that level. It works and it helps. However, many things that still need to be done, and they're pointing a glaring picture at what is happening in the country. A very good job done in this story by Dominic Omondi, who is a senior business reporter with the Standard Group. The story is on page 4 and 5 and also continues page 6 and page 7 of the Standard this morning, looking at how much food is going to waste and comparing with the fact that many people are facing starvation today. Dominic Omondi joins us on the line. Good morning, Dominic.
Good morning, Latif.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, and very well done on this story. This is a very good story.
Thank you very much.
Now, you were looking at the Economic Survey 2021 that was released last week by the National Treasury and Planning, and this is where you got the statistics from.
Yeah.
So basically, this is government data that's showing how much food we produced and how much food was wasted through various means. Does the report go into showing what were the main causes of the post-harvest losses?
Yeah, Latif, Muga, and Lucas, thank you for having me. It's an interesting report. It's a report that has delayed for 5 months, and it has a wealth of data. If it's a minefield of data that can help you get the pulse rate of the economy.
Right.
As you understand, the report is done by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, whose work is basically to collect, compile, analyze, and disseminate data. So there's a report, there's a data set in the economic survey known as food balance sheet, which basically tracks how food is produced, how it's processed, and some of the one that is lost, the imported food and all that. And within that, you also get to understand how many calories of food have just been consumed by Kenyans at a per capita level and all that stuff. And very interesting stuff from the food balance sheet. What the report doesn't say, and it doesn't say much about the loss of food, is how the food is lost, You talk of transportation, storage, and part of those ways in which there's the leakage and the food gets wasted. The report doesn't really go into that because, it can be a strive to restrict itself to what it's supposed to be doing. But all those things are things that experts have been talking about. They are things that the Ministry of Agriculture has been talking about for the longest time. So, of course, the explanation we have, both from the official sources and even experts.
Now, people, just like you've said, the experts such as the ones you've quoted in the story, Timothy Njagi, the research fellow at the Tegemeo Institute of Egerton University, has been talking about this for the longest time, talking about the post-harvest losses, what needs to be done to curb these post-harvest losses. Now, if we look at what the various county governments have been doing. There's a photo here that you've put in the story of Elgeyo Marakwet, where workers are sorting mango slices for drying at the Cheptebo Mango Factory in Elgeyo Marakwet. Similar things have also been established in the Ukambani counties as well. Are they having an impact really on the post-harvest losses?
If you think of some of those areas that you are talking about, we are talking about fruits and we are talking about mangoes. Which is good. It's a good move because we've been having this problem where mangoes get wasted because you can't get to the market. So what farmers do, they just decide to throw them away or use them as fertilizer. And so what Professor Kibwana and the rest have started is really commendable in terms of trying to stem the wastage of that fruit. But the elephant in the room is what we call cereals, what really sustains an economy. You talk of maize, you talk of wheat, and then such like potatoes, and you talk of rice. Though rice, there wasn't much wastage in rice. But if we talk of the cereals, maize, which is our staple food, and wheat, there's a huge concern there, and there's not much that has been done to stem the wastage in maize. Though over the years, as just going through the food balance sheet, over the years there's been a decline in post-harvest loss in as far as maize is concerned. But 8 million bags is still, on the higher side. That is maize that can do a lot to this country. That's maize that can save a lot of lives, and reduce the hunger in this country. But we haven't seen much in terms of trying to stem the wastage.
I think what bites then here more than anything else, Dominic, is that for all the things that you've described, they're avoidable. We're looking at storage, we're looking at transport, we're looking at storage facilities and then storage materials, all things that can be worked on to make sure that we don't experience the losses that we have seen. And that many people who deal along these agricultural lines have actually spent a lot of time working on the things that you can do to mitigate the loss. We're not saying that there won't be loss, because we look at things like handling the process that you expect grain, for example, to be lost along the way. But there are mechanisms that you can put in place to make sure that the loss is not what we are seeing. 88 million kilograms of maize lost is unacceptable. So these are things that actually can be avoided, but are just not being avoided because, and I guess that's the question, why?
Yeah, one of the reasons, and I think the biggest reason, and this is not to say that we should go back to a situation where the state gets to do everything, but one of the main reasons is state failure of some kind here. If you remember back in the days, we used to have all these silos, the huge silos that were managed by government, So in this case, we should be having National Cereals and Produce Board running all these silos that were almost everywhere, and especially in counties or areas that were good at producing agricultural counties, so to speak. Those silos, if you remember, and especially after liberalization of the market, some of those silos have been abandoned, and farmers have kind of been left to their own devices. Where most of the food, and especially maize, gets wasted is at the storage level. Unlike sugar, for example, where you will have them transporting the sugar using tractors that people just pulling, or they're just falling off as the tractor goes to the milling company. For maize, it's particularly heightened at the storage level because maize has to about the aflatoxin and the way you have to maintain a certain level of humidity and all that. Or you have to ensure that it is dry and all that. So, and farmers do not have that kind of skill or even equipment to help them to store the maize so that it is not affected by aflatoxin. But even more saddening is that even when the maize goes to NCPB, we have a lot of maize. You've had stories of how NCPB has maize that is infected with aflatoxin. And again, at that level, when it goes to the stores of NCPB, they store it in such a way that it gets wasted because it's infected. It's not fit for consumption. So that is maize that is just wasted. And so, of course, even for farmers, and especially this is where we need perhaps to have people like extension officers coming back and just inform farmers on how they can harvest, and with minimal waste, and how they can transport. What can they use to transport? Is it there? How can they get what is necessary for them to transport? And then how they can store that their produce. But in case there's no place to store for farmers because it can be very expensive, especially for small-scale farmers. We need to find a way of creating all these storage facilities, which are probably being run by private players, and through that, you can have a farmer take their produce. When they are not ready to sell the produce, they can take them there, and they get something like a receipt, And with that receipt, whenever they feel like they want to exchange it, they can, it's like, selling shares or something. You have your own certificate there, so you can exchange and sell the shares whenever you feel like selling it. But it's stored somewhere, So that's why this thing that they've been talking about, the warehouse receipting system. Is critical here, but we haven't seen any progress with that.
I think they've been making some progress. If you ask them, they'll tell you they've been making some progress. The progress here and there. It's at some certain stage of legalizing it. But I see exactly what you're saying, and we have talked about this on the show for many times. It is maybe a shift in thinking. And knowing and just, first of all, internalizing the fact that agriculture is now devolved, counties need to start immediately thinking of how to bring back the agricultural extension services to the people. Just like you're saying, people need to be sensitized and made aware how best do you dry your grains, all of them, whether it's beans, whether it's maize, whether it's sorghum, so that you reduce those that are getting wasted due to aflatoxin. Those that are harmful for human consumption. But then the other things also, we look back, we keep pointing fingers, and these are a good point to point fingers as well, IMF and the structural adjustment programs, the collapse of the farmer cooperatives that were really, really strong in the 80s and the early 90s is also bearing its fruit here. Because you'd have seen that farmer cooperatives, for example, would have come together and created some storage facilities at the local level, where they're able then to put up even cold chain. So you're growing your produce, you take it to that, just a local store there, it's cold chain, and then from there, you're able to take it to the market. Those things are what we need to start thinking about as county governments as well. And also, I think the issue of just counties encouraging. It's good to see Elgeyo Marakwet, to see Kitui, to see Makueni and the others investing in these factories. But I think they should do more to encourage the private sector to set up these factories in the counties. So can you imagine if Elgeyo Marakwet had more than one area where private factories are setting up, even if it's just local, setting up some cottage industries. Mango is harvested, mango is taken to this local cottage. It maybe just goes through level 1 of processing before it can then be transported in a different stage to the next level of processing at a different factory. We have all the factories that process tomatoes in Nairobi. Nairobi does not grow tomatoes. But because the market for the tomato paste and tomato sauce is in Nairobi, then you find that they can justify having it here. But there's a cost of transporting and bringing the produce from the farm to the factory in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I think these are conversations that are basically just opening themselves up here. We are wasting so much food that need not go to waste.
Dominic, from your experience, I mean, I could tell you what I could think, but from your experience with the details of this report, because obviously this is not the first time a report such as this has been released. From your experience, what is likely to be done with this blinding information that has come out?
Let me not make my hopes so high about what the government is going to do with these reports, because reports keep coming out, damning reports that call for action. But what we are seeing is kind of, some lethargy that people really can't understand. But you and I, and Latif has just talked about the need for us to have cooperatives, because again, for a small farmer, what is hurting a small farmer is that he doesn't enjoy the economies of scale. He doesn't have the financial muscle.
Yep.
Sure.
So for a small farmer, you expect them to be in a pool of other farmers so that they can have that economies of scale. So if you are in a cooperative, then it's easier for you to have your own, storage facility, your own vehicle to transport, which is well equipped with the cold storage facilities, and you can have your own warehouse and even get to find a market of your own in a way that is much easier when you're doing it on your own. So, and the back here really, because this is the other issue that we've never really been able to solve, is we need to realize that agriculture was actually devolved. And this means that the counties should be at the forefront in terms of championing some of these changes that you are talking about. But what is happening is that because agriculture is not very much, the prominence in agriculture is not there. You have counties really being obsessed with areas that voters can see, like building roads and all that.
And putting up the factories.
Yes. And I was having a conversation with the former CS for agriculture, Kiunjuri, and he was telling me it's high time, when you talk about extension officers, it's high time even counties started to employing some of these extension officers, because they've not done that.
Yep.
And they've not done much, even generally in agriculture. So we need to start seeing more of the counties being very active in terms of championing some of these changes. Building some of these storage facilities, even having roads within the counties that just ensure that goods can easily leave the farm to the market.
Yep.
Of course, you talk of the highways and all that, which is the work that should be done by the national government. That can help, of course. If you are growing some tomatoes in Kitale, you would like to get them to Mombasa. That's a market, so you need the right logistics and all that, so that you can get them from there. But sometimes markets are just within your county, and some people can't just get their goods their produce from the farm to a market in their own county. So they rot there in the farm, because when it rains, and especially this loss happens a lot when it rains, you can't get your produce from the farm. So you need to come up with all these logistics, so that you can enable this to leave the farm to the market. And counties, together with the national government, have to do this.
They've got to focus on things. Dominic Omondi, thank you very much for speaking to us. Dominic is the senior business reporter at the Standard Group. He's written this story on page 4 of the Standard today. Country lost 965 million kilograms of food in 2020. And in 2021, the president has declared drought a national disaster, and there are people who are facing food shortage. Dominic, thank you very much for this story and for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.
Let's take a break at this point. 26 minutes to 8. We want to hear from you as well. So, food glut on one part of the country, food shortage on another part of the country, food going to waste on one part of the country. What do we need to do to address this? Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600 after the break. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
In the quest of saving an ailing son, Sonia does the unthinkable. Will the guilt of her misdeeds haunt her, or will she come clean? Catch Mother's Guilt at 6 p.m. every Monday to Friday, only on KTN Home.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
We give you the latest, the funniest, and the most entertaining updates and news from Kenya and the world while you kick back and relax. Join in on our comical duo Hassan Umar and Sugar Boy on Habari za News every Friday at 10 p.m. only on KTN Home. Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Gone are the days when hiring should be about hitting the brick wall, because we understand how much it means to have the ideal candidate working for you and your organization. That's why at Standard Jobs website, we offer the complete employer dashboard that lets you interact fully with applicants, lets you track the full hiring process through a qualified specific smart search tool. What's more, we offer a full-on custom branded page that lets your company stand out with your own to choose custom page. So visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/jobs.
Conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 today and lows of 12. Nakuru is clear at 14, highs of 25. 24 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 13, and 29 is what we're looking at as the high in Kisumu. 18 degrees and clear, coming down to just that low today. Kakamega is also clear at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. We're looking into Eldoret, where it's 12, clear, and highs of 24 today. All right, let's look into Kisumu, and let's go to Mombasa. Mombasa, 23 degrees, light rain, highs of 29. And in Malindi this morning, 23. It's also raining, highs of 29 and lows of 23. Out in Kampala, mostly clear conditions at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam, mostly clear at 22, highs of 30. Johannesburg at 13 is clear, highs of 25 and lows of 13. And into Lagos, it's clear at 24. We'll see highs of 29 today. Kinshasa is clear at 24, highs of 34 and lows of 24.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life.
Still building up a little bit on Mombasa Road, but today it looks absolutely glorious. First time in a very long time they've been able to traverse Mombasa Road without too much of a headache. Hopefully it remains that way. There's a little bit of action on the southern bypass today. Hold up then as you're exiting, coming off of the Likoni Road interchange, now spilling over onto Mombasa Road. So watch out for that. Just at that bridge is where you have a little bit of an issue, but then getting out shouldn't be too difficult. Langata Road, packed all the way from the Wilson Airport out through to Aerodrome Road. Today we're looking at the Bunyala Road roundabout as well. Not too much of an issue, but it is building up. Thika Road, also same thing here. We're looking at Jogo Road is also packed into the CBDs where all roads lead today. And so that is looking like a bit of a mishmash. Let's keep an eye on things. Help us out as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. SpiceFM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
20 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. This hour, we are talking about the ongoing food shortage in the country. The president has declared drought a national disaster, and the government is currently mobilizing resources to take to how many counties again that are facing food shortage?
Well, 23, but the hardest hit are 12. The hardest hit are 12.
6.7 million people in these counties have been hit by the drought, and they are basically facing food shortage. Elsewhere in the papers today, there's a story in The Nation that's talking about learning that has been derailed because hunger has kept children from schools. And it talks about, for example, Samburu County, where parents said their children did not report back to school when schools reopened in July. There's no rain. We have to move around and we cannot leave the children behind. There's no food and we eat whatever we can find. This was what Jackson Lemorge, who is 53 years old, was saying. He was forced to withdraw his 2 children from Lua Primary School in Opiroi in Samburu North. And they moved 156 kilometers away
to find food.
Do you know Nairobi to Emali is 102 kilometers? 156 kilometers is where?
It's 54 kilometers after that.
50,000 people in need of food in Tigania West in Meru. 43 million shillings is what the Samburu County government has set aside to deal with the ongoing issue. As we look at that, our National Economic Survey 2021 reveals that in 2020 we grew food. 1.8 billion kilos of potatoes, 790 million kilos of beans, 1.1 billion kilos of tomatoes, 1.3 billion kilos of fruits, and this excludes bananas, pineapples, oranges, lemons, and apples. Let's talk about the pineapples. 170 million kilos of pineapples. Sorghum, 255 million kilos. Pulses, that's excluding beans and peas, 1.1 billion. Now, of all this, in each of this category of food, there were losses, post-harvest losses. And this is where basically you've produced the food, but it doesn't end up in the market. It goes bad. From the tree, from the plant, or after harvest, it's just 10% of our potatoes went to waste. 20% of beans went to waste. 10% of our tomatoes went to waste. 7.8% of our fruits went to waste. When it comes to sorghum, 12.9% of that went to waste. Pineapples, 20% of our pineapples went to waste. Sweet potatoes, 10% of the sweet potatoes went to waste, and 22% of maize is also going to waste. In some of these cases, and the story in the Standard today is basically saying, for example, in eastern Kenya, mangoes rot because of picky buyers rejecting them for insignificant reasons such as this one has spots.
It doesn't feel, it's a bit lumpy.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that they're not edible. It's just that the buyer who's come to buy at the farm just doesn't pick. And the farmer has nowhere else to take this. So, waste. We need to discuss this, how to address this. Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Candice is on the line. Good morning, Candice.
Good morning, Eric. And this is a very, very important topic. It just doesn't make sense that we'll be wasting food, which is a basic necessity.
Yep.
And I'd like to contribute with regard to post-harvest losses,
Yep.
with regard to maize. Now, you'll be surprised that we are losing maize to aflatoxin, and yet one Kenyan, Dr. Charity Mutegi, won an international award for developing an antidote for aflatoxin. And this antidote is called Aflasif KE01, and is being manufactured in Machakos. And what we need to do is to apply it when the maize has reached a certain height, and we will completely get rid of aflatoxin. But we have not made this available countrywide, not in the breadbasket, not in the areas where maize is grown. And we continue losing maize to aflatoxin. It doesn't make sense.
So Aflasif is being produced in the country. It has won global acclaim.
Yes.
It's made the producer of this be awarded internationally.
Yes.
And yet, we are still facing aflatoxin as an issue in the country.
Exactly. And it's cheap. It just doesn't make sense. It's like one side of government doesn't... in fact, in this case, it's the same side of government because it's being produced under CALRO.
Yep.
And so CALRO should be getting this to the rest of the country.
Yep.
And teaching people how to apply it so that we can reduce aflatoxin. Now, even worse is not the post-harvest loss. It's the fact that aflatoxin has effects including cancer. They cause cancer, they cause stunting in children.
Yes.
And so you end up with a burden on the health care because we have not taken care of aflatoxin, and yet we have an antidote.
That's very interesting. It's very interesting what you're saying because I'm looking at July 7th, 2018. The Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture at that time, Mwangi Kionjuri, had said that they were coming up with a policy that he would push through Cabinet to ensure that every farmer in the county uses AflaSafe, especially in the high-interest areas, rather in the highly infested areas. And he backed the inclusion of AflaSafe as one of the inputs in the government subsidy program, essentially to make it cheaper for farmers to be able to purchase.
This was in 2018.
And then use. This was in 2018.
Right.
You know, this was to be done at that time. And currently, we are looking at maize. Let's just look at maize. The loss that we're looking at for maize is 88 million kilograms. And if a lot of this is then attributed to the destruction that is caused by aflatoxin, and there is an antidote to it, then I don't.
And it goes just beyond maize. It goes into maize, into groundnuts, into...
Groundnuts, yes.
And what he said there, he said the government is ready to assist farmers. With the right support, farmers will benefit through AflaSafe.
So
this is the minister saying this.
They are aware.
Of course,
this is the
thing.
We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you know what? it's not that you don't know. To be aware of something and not doing it, to me, is an even worse crime than for somebody to say you don't understand. That there is an option to be able to mitigate these huge losses that we are seeing. You've seen it, you've touched it with your very hands, but still choose not to use it. It's detriment. It's detriment.
Cantis, so as far as you know, do you know anything like what's the capacity of the factory that's producing this in where is it being produced, in Machakos or Makueni?
Machakos. Unfortunately, I don't know the figures in terms of the quantity they can produce. My biggest concern is that it's just not available. Why isn't it available?
Yep, and that's very true. Cantis, thank you very much for your call.
Okay.
Asante sana. 0719-012-600. What do you think? So we are seeing there's a lot of food that we produce and a lot of it just goes to waste. Very many ways in which food is going to waste. One of it is at that point where, okay, so you have grown your grain, you have tried to dry your grain, and then you're taking it to the market and the buyer says, all right, so here it doesn't meet the standard because it has aflatoxin. Others, it's because, the way you produced it is not matching the market. Others, it's just simple things such as road. A couple of days ago, earlier this year, when there was mangoes being harvested in Elgeyo Marakwet County, the stories were farmers saying they're just sitting there. Roads are so bad, they cannot transport their mangoes to the market.
They can't move.
That is loss.
They'll go back.
In Elgeyo Marakwet County, they're just sitting there. We have got the mangoes, okay? The market, we know where the market is, all right? Well, we cannot move the mango from here to the market. What needs to happen? Basically, one of the things is, okay, make the road that takes this to the market. The other one is encourage small cottage industries that can take up this mango and start processing it at that point.
Should they go bad?
Even before they go bad, let's just know that farmers are growing their mango and is where they're taking the mango.
We keep talking about value add and we talk about the value chain.
Yeah.
This is it, that a mango needn't just be a fruit that you would eat. A mango can turn into puree. A mango can turn into dried fruit. A mango can turn, you can desiccate it. You can use it for so many other things. Pickles and chilies, etc., etc. We're talking about value add. After all, people buy this product, take it out of the country, process it and sell it back here on the shelves of hoity-toity supermarkets. This is what we're talking about. That value add has got to be something that you can be seen to do. Beyond just the whole fruit and what it offers you, there are so many more options that then can be produced from one source. So yeah, even before it gets bad, it shouldn't be that, all right, it's bad, what do we do with it now? But looking at this thing that you have, how many more varieties can we produce from it?
And a mango is not something that just comes out of nowhere. You have a tree, you can see, you know the season, everybody knows that we're going to have mangoes coming from Ukambani at this point of the year. Everybody knows that we're going to have mangoes coming from this other part of the country at this time. So even the farmers know our mangoes will be ready for harvest in X number of days. Can start working around that. Anthony is on the line. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Alec and Andrew.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Anthony, and I wish to contribute to today's debate.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm the consultant agronomist in the region.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you for sure, there is a lot of potential that we have as a country. When I actually basically work with the small and the medium scale growers. And most of the times we look at the value chain, it's very key from production out there to the market. Currently, I'm working with fresh herbs growers. And the reason why I decided to work with the small and medium grower is just because there was a gap in the extension within this caliber of group of people. The big companies have their potential to be able to employ these agronomists and be able to help in the production chain. But then when it comes to the small and the medium growers, there is a very big challenge, a very big gap. The extension officers are supposed to help the medium and the small growers, but they are not there. So the farmers are left to themselves. So you find now that in terms of now the production issue, there are challenges now with the production issues. We have been talking about getting the light production tonnage of maize per acre. it has been said to be almost like 10 times below the optimum.
We are doing so badly.
So badly. Why is it's happening? There are issues with soil, there are issues with varieties, there are issues with water, there are issues with the agronomic practices, the cultural practices that are not being adhered at the farm level. Today we are talking about the losses in terms of the value chain from production all the way to the market. So for me, I think as a country, we just need to invest in this. We talk about the country is 80% agriculture, but we are not doing that. We are not investing where, we are getting a lot of returns.
It's 80% agriculture, but our investment there is about 5%, 5-6%.
Yes, 5-6%. So for me, that's the irony we have as a country. I think we need to have our priorities right as a country.
Anthony, in the areas where you work,
yes,
knowing that agriculture is devolved, are the county governments involved in helping the workers, the farmers, in, for example, trying to hire extension officers?
Basically, for me, I can say the capacity is very low. We need to do more. They are there, but they are not doing enough. And one of the issues I have come to realize is that they have not been able to be equipped.
Okay.
You need to have the necessary tools for trade,
So
for work.
they've been employed, but they have not been empowered.
They have not been empowered.
What
there's a deficit.
What does an extension officer need as tools to do their work?
For me, they have to have the right knowledge, and I believe they have the right knowledge. They need to be facilitated to move from one point to another. Farmers don't stay in town. Farmers are in the rural setup.
Yep.
They need to have them to be able to reach the needs of the farm on a daily basis. For me, I'm just a call away from our small scale growers. I'm just a phone call away to be able to have what we call timely decisions that is going to help the farms be able to to solve the solutions or the challenges they are going through on a daily basis. This is what is lacking in our country, in the county government. And for me, I think we can go a very long way if we put our resources where our mouth is.
That's very true.
Very true.
Very true,
so
Anthony.
for me, I think as a country there's a potential, but it is underutilized. It is not involved. It is not. I think the country is not giving agriculture what to call as a backbone of this country. What is all required.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for your call.
Pressure.
Asante. Victor, good morning.
And gentlemen, where is City today?
The other gentleman is away until tomorrow.
Okay, good. Nice conversation. I'd like to contribute.
Uh-huh.
This is a very good debate. First of all, we have a big problem with poverty, as you know. I mean, there are several types of poverty: situational, generational, and institutionalized poverty. Why we are suffering from drought is because of institutionalized poverty. Why do I say this? There's an institution or an authority known as the NDMA, and I think about a day or two ago you brought one of the guys from that office to the situation room. I know for a fact that this country can practice what is called regenerative agriculture. That means the semi-arid areas can also be productive, and supplement our food capacity. This is not done. Why? Because a few, or let me say many individuals, prefer to have their private farms. And most of these individuals are actually working in the ministries, in the government. They have perfectly working private farms equipped with boreholes, materials, supplemented with agronomy, well paid, and they're producing enough food in places where you cannot imagine that food can be produced. So you want to say that somebody somewhere, and with the current technology, knew that we were going to have a drought in 2 or 3 years' time. Not much was done, and we are facing the same, and we are waiting for it to be declared as a national disaster, which I think is also a means of embezzling our money, because somebody just sits somewhere and wait for this opportune time. I'm saying this from a true story because I know someone who works for these authorities, and they once tried to do some nice things. They got transferred. Why? Because wataribu mali pa kukula. So yes, they actually earn from relief food distribution. So these are unsustainable ways of fighting poverty. I mean, anybody knows now that we have different ways of fighting a drought or combating drought. In other countries, it has been done.
That's
in China, you know.
Like you're saying, Victor, so that is poverty of ethics.
It's poverty all around.
Yes, exactly.
It's just a poverty of ethics.
Absolutely.
And values.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you very much, Victor.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Asante sana. Well, as we continue talking about this, we will keep asking even the governors as they come here. So what are you doing? How much are you investing in agriculture? And the other thing is now, as the voter, just like Dominic was saying, voters want to see tangible things. When you say that you have hired 100 extension officers,
I want to see what they're doing.
But if you know that this is what's best for the people, as long as people can interact with the extension officer daily, then they'll say, yes, we can actually see this is where we've invested our money. But if you say we've invested in extension officers, these extension officers do not have motorcycles to come. We don't have their contacts. We cannot call them. We see them once a quarter.
Then
and you tell me that you've invested in extension services.
You haven't.
You haven't.
No.
So you've got to look at various ways in which you basically support agriculture. And we must support agriculture for us to attain that thing that we're just calling an ideal. Food and nutrition security. Not just food security, but food and nutrition security. Everybody should have access to nutritious food, and access to nutritious food means that it's easily accessible
and it's
affordable.
Available. Right.
It's affordable. If it's not affordable, then that also is not access to food. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's hear your views. Let's continue reading your views on this particular matter on SpiceFM KE, on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're also live streaming the show on YouTube. In the next hour, we look into our choices as voters. When you're presented with choices on the ground, must you choose from the people that are on the ballot? What if you don't agree with any of the people that are on the ballot? What happens? Stay at home? Weka huko. This is for those that want someone from among the choices that have been presented. This is a conversation that we'll be having in the next hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room on SpiceFM. Very good morning to you. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Schools amid tight security. Around 21 schools in Moran had been affected by the skirmishes and closed due to bandit attacks. Rift Valley Coordinator George Natembea said although the turnout was low on the first day, more students are expected to report by the end of the week.
Shule tano ambazo ziliathirika kabisa zote ziko na walimu, ingawa pia haijakuwa ni 100%, lakini kila shule iko na walimu wamerudi. Na pia kwa hizo shule tano, shule mbili ndizo hazijareshomu masomo vizuri. Walifu wako kule Laikipia Nature Conservancy na kazi inaendelea huko. Bado inaendelea kujamaliza kazi. Lakini ningependa kuhakikisha kwa mahali ya makazi, mahali watu wanaishi kwa sasa tumefanya clean up, tumeongeza askari huko.
Here's a teacher from one of the schools which reported a low turnout.
Mwalimu anang'ang'ana tu nao kidogo kwa sababu even the number si ile kubwa sana. Kwa leo tuko na watoto 98 na kwa kawaida tuko na watoto around 305.
Meanwhile, Tiati MP William Kamket returns to court today for the determination of petition by the prosecution to detain him for 14 days to facilitate further investigations into his role in the Laikipia crisis. Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Nurdin Haji has dropped charges against 3 Tanga leaders accused of plotting violence during the Kabushai by-elections in Bungoma County in April this year. The 3 are Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, Chesumei MP Wilson Kogo, and his Belgood counterpart Nelson Koech. However, Haji has not dropped the charges against Kimilili MP Didmas Baraza, who was also implicated in the riots. The 4 appeared before Judge Stephen Mugote of Bungoma Court. Here is Cherargei.
Director of Public Prosecution, through their representative today in court, indicated that they have withdrawn charges against myself Mheshimiwa Nelson Koech, MP Belgut, Mheshimiwa Wilson Kogo, MP Chesumei. But unfortunately, they have retained charges against our brother, Didmas Barasa.
Baraza has maintained that he was not involved in the violence and hopes to get justice.
I have no doubt that this matter is before the right court. We will go there and argue our case. And at the end of the day, I want to use this case to develop the jurisprudence of this country. That we don't just wake up in the morning, you found a pedestrian on the road, you find a motorist on the road going about his or her business, then you bundle them into a police car with alleging that they were planning to commit felony. Which felony was I planning to commit? And we were jointly together. So why would you drop the charges of some my co-accused maintaining mine? And even though you said that we were facing 2 charges.
3 people died while 6 others sustained injuries after a 2-story building under construction collapsed in Mamboleo, Kisumu County. The bodies of the deceased were taken to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. The Kenya Construction Authority said it had earmarked the building for demolition as it had been constructed on a swampy area. A panel put in place to provide guidance on how to conduct lottery advertising in the media is expected to present its report today. The panel was formed by the Media Council of Kenya following allegations that betting advertisements were being done without guidelines. The panel consisted of representatives from the Abaya Media, the Lottery Licensing Board, the Communications Authority, and other stakeholders, and headed by journalist Emmanuel Juma. A 7-day weather forecast from September 14th to 20th from Kenya Meteorological Department indicates that there will be a moderate to heavy rainfall over several parts of the country. According to the weatherman, heavy rainfall will be experienced in the highlands west of Rift Valley, the Lake Victoria Basin, the central Rift Valley, the northwestern Kenya, and the highlands east of the Rift Valley. And South Africa has eased COVID-19 restrictions and shortened its nationwide curfew after a decline in infections. President Cyril Ramaphosa said the country will also extend the hours of alcohol sales, further relaxing restrictions introduced in June to combat a third wave of cases caused by the Delta variant. Ramaphosa said while the third wave wasn't over yet, there had been a sustained decline in infections across the country over the last few weeks. Authorities reported 3,961 new cases, compared with a peak of about 26,500 per day in early July. This is Newswire, Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Into the city centre is where we see a lot of traffic this morning. Now is when it's starting to build up on Mombasa Road today, where previously there was no traffic. All the way Imara Daima in and outbound is where we see a lot of traffic today. Mombasa Road picked up after an hour of easy breezy times. We're also looking at traffic on the Thika Superhighway today, getting into the city. Very slow then around Survey, headed out in the CBD there. That entire area is jam-packed. Traffic coming in from Langata Road, it's building up. Also on Gong Road, coming out of Westlands and the Thika Superhighway, as well as Mombasa Road. We have traffic that builds up from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout on Huru Highway out through into the CBD and into Westlands and outbound as well. Let's keep an eye on things. We're still in traffic hour around about 8 o'clock. This is now the time that most vehicles are on the road. Let's keep an eye. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. The bypasses are your friends.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. the only way
Good morning.
to start
How
your
are you doing? This is the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, 7 minutes after 8 on the 14th day of September 2021. This is the day where we all turn our attention to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Today, they should tell us how much we'll start buying fuel from tomorrow. There's been all this speculation that things they're going to change, but they haven't changed for a while. Let's hope. Well, let's just wait and see what they say. Just do your job, April. Just do your job. Kenya's biggest conversation is live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, we are live on SpiceFM and live for the next 1 hour on KTN Home. In the room is Eric Latif and Nduoko. Siti Muga is watching the show like everybody else, sitting somewhere with his cup of water. Siti Muga, today's proverb, he'll be like, right. Today's proverb is a Kenyan proverb. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. The Kamba would say, Mboi nene ndetiva mana. Mboi nene ndetiva mana. The Meru would say, Dhengenkuru itatiaga udheri. Dhengenkuru itatiaga udheri. Now, I don't know which Kimeru this one is. You know, the Merus are 6.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know this.
There's the Imenti, the Raka, the Shuka, the Mudambi, the Mwembe, the Igoji. All those are Merus.
All of them are Meru.
Yep.
So, it's Meru.
So, I don't know whether this one is the Mudambi or Mwembe or the Igoji. But Dhengenkuru iteteaga udheri. An old goat does not bleat for nothing. That's the day's proverb. Now, in the headlines, up to August 9th, 2022, we'll always be having something or the other to do with politics as we head towards the vote, right?
Yes.
Mao question returns to haunt the big two. ODM leader Raila Odinga has always blamed Mao forest evictions for costing him votes in 2013, insisting that his rivals, including the Deputy President William Ruto, turned it into a political scheme to deny him the Kalenjin vote. Yesterday, the Mao debate came up again with just months to the 2022 polls. This is the headline in the Standard this morning. And it goes on to say, this is what the former Prime Minister was doing. He was hosting leaders of the Maasai community and he gambles with Mao debate to win the Ma votes. What's happening in the nation?
Well, it's a game of numbers, according to the Nation. Electoral Commission, the IEBC, wants to enlist 6 million new voters, mostly those who turned 18 after the 2017 elections. So this is a group of people that's ripe for the picking as far as the IEBC is concerned. And they're saying, look, these are the folks that we're going to go after.
Right.
This opens a new battleground for political parties as they seek to recruit the youth ahead of the 2022 election. So IEBC going for this number in terms of registering them and getting them on the register in terms of boosting the number of people who actually take the vote in this country. Political parties seeing this as totally different. Political parties are seeing as getting the young people engaged in the political process and then creating a base of individuals who would then potentially vote for them. So it's hunting season for the commission. It's also hunting season for political parties to see who they can get on their side. There's 9.251 million potential voters. The IEBC is targeting 6 million of them in the new registration. The total number of voters in the IEBC record currently is 19,611,433. It's interesting because now looking at the counties in the country, with the highest number of potential new voters. And right now, the highest that we are looking at is in Bungoma. Nairobi. 809,000. Obviously, Nairobi being the biggest. But then looking outside of this of the Nairobi area, then is followed by Bungoma. We're looking at counties like Kakamega, Machakos, Kilifi, Kiambu, Nakuru, Narok, with the least of those being, over 200,000. So it's interesting because the spread is around the nation. It's not just looking at one area, but there are different pockets around the country. Of course, with the cosmopolitan area being the one that is seeking the highest numbers, almost a million potential new voters. But it's hunting season around the country. And political parties probably looking at this with hunger in their eyes and saying, you know what, folks, here we have an opportunity to get more people on our side. And the youth vote looks like in this election, the youth vote will be the most targeted vote right now.
If you get 6 million new voters to add to the 19 million roll, that is going to be very many new voters. That's 25 million voters in the next election, right? That's a very high number. In the last general election of 2017, what was the voter turnout? About 80% of the registered voters turned out to vote. That's very high. Well, this repeat election had less than 30%, but because we had very many issues that were taking place then. But the first election on that second Tuesday of August, very many people turned up to vote. 80% of the registered voters, very high number. If you look at that and then look at heading into an election and there's fatigue, there's looking at, so are we going to get a change? Does any of these candidates represent change? Currently, the scope of, if you just look at presidential, it appears who are the people who are running. Somebody who is different, who is saying, I represent change. Ruben Kigame says, I'm coming in, I want to be the president, I represent change. Then look at the other formations, the One Kenya Alliance leadership of Musalia, Kalonzo, Gideon Moi, Moses Wetangula. They've been there before. Do they represent change? Raila Odinga on the other side has been there before. Does he represent change? The change candidates, William Ruto, the opposition, the deputy president, does he represent change? Is he being positioned as the change candidate when he's the incumbent? Many of the 6 million new voters who would be registering may be looking at this election and wondering, so, okay, let me also start from my local ward, the MCA. Who are the candidates that are coming? The woman rep, who are the candidates? The sitting MP and the candidates for MP, candidates for senator, candidate for governor, candidate then for president. They may just ask themselves, I may be interested in one of these. I'm strongly invested, for example, in my local MCA because I know this person and I believe that this person represents change. I want to go and vote for them. However, the candidates that I have for governor, I'm looking at them and I'm just seeing, I don't buy any of them. None of them is basically representing what I feel are the needs that I have. And if you look at democracy and what democracy is all about, democracy is about that. It's about allowing people the opportunity to be heard, to go to a ballot and express themselves directly, allowing people to be represented, allowing the majority to have their way and the minority to have their say. But this say of the minority, does it mean anything? If the minority have spoken and the minority have basically said, we like Ndu, but the majority have said, we like Eric,
that's the way it's going to go.
The say is, 20% of you wanted Ndu, but 80% said they want Eric, and that's it. What if there are people who do not want Eric or Ndu? What happens? I've been thinking about this and I've been wondering, I haven't seen it anywhere in the world, but how about just giving the people that option as well to cast a protest vote? If I feel that the political parties have not given me a candidate that I agree with, that the independent candidates who have put themselves forth for this election in a particular seat are not candidates that I agree with, can I express that opinion and say, I don't agree with any of this?
How would you express the opinion?
One way,
say that you
way would be considered, if I don't turn up to vote, could be, construed to mean that I had voter apathy because I did not feel that I connected with what was being presented as choices before me. But that is up there in the air. Somebody could argue and say, that day Eric was sick, or that day, Eric is not civically engaged. But I want to show that I am completely engaged in my civil duty. I want everybody to know that the candidates that I was presented with for MCA or for woman rep or for governor or for president, I agree with none of them. Can I have a position there at the bottom of that ballot that says none of the above, and I'll go and tick or put a cross?
In a progressively real world, I think that would work. But I think here we get it wrong from the very beginning, whereby we're still dealing heavily in personality politics. And you say this has never happened in maybe any other part of the world. But I think that's taking into consideration that political parties then are seen to be based on an ideology. So they're not voting in an individual per se. They're voting in the delivery of their ideology, and whatever machine, now being the human, that they choose to deliver this, so it be it. But here, it's purely personality politics. So the decision you make at whatever level, you're talking about MCA, you're talking about senator, governor, is usually in line with the personality that carries the day. When you see an individual today who is politicking, it's the individual first, and then you make a connection about which political party that they're affiliated with. Meanwhile, it should be the other way around, that the ideology is what is sailing through, and then there are individuals then who come in and are then best placed to deliver the ideology. I think that if it was the other way around, that we would not then have this problem.
It may still be there. I could agree with the ideologies of a political party,
but
the candidate,
agree with the individual who's going to
deliver. The candidate who's been presented by this party as the candidate for this particular seat in my ward, in my constituency, I don't agree with them. I personally abhor this person. I look at them and I don't think they have what it takes to lead. I do not agree. In fact, even for that reason, I'd like that to be included in the ballot. For me to say none of the above, for me to tell my political party that I do not agree with the person that has been presented here. Maybe I participated in the political party nominations and I did not vote for this person. I voted for somebody else. All right? And then majority, minority, blah, blah, blah. Majority, this guy won by a majority. And I'm still strongly not convinced that this is the right person for this job. But because I'm supposed to agree with a political party, I'm now expected that I'm going to the ballot and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to vote for candidate Ndu for this political party. No, I don't agree.
You see, that's the thing.
I want to go to the ballot and say no.
Sure. But here, if this is what I'm saying, that if you're dealing along the lines of ideology, that if that is what you're firmly invested in, it shouldn't matter then who delivers it. Because by the time the political party has made this selection, all sure that this individual then will deliver on the issue, as opposed to deliver on any kind of, selfish personality, political expediency that individual at that time may be chasing. That the assumption is that the selection being made by the political party is delivering on the issues.
It's all theory, Ndu.
On the
The theory here
on
is
the
that you're
ideology.
expecting that the political party has a very strong ideology and is able to whip all its members to follow that
No,
ideology.
Not all.
All right.
Even in political parties, you'll find people who disagree on the individual.
Yeah.
But the ideology takes the day.
Not everywhere. And you see, the strength of an individual also contributes to this. You're operating from a point of, okay, we have very strong political parties and strong political ideologies. I'm operating from a point of reality on the ground. The reality is we do not have strong political parties. We don't have strong ideologies. We just have
Are we talking about
candidates.
Kenya? Are we talking about Kenya? I agree 100%, and that's why I was saying, if you take other examples where
Even in other
political parties
examples.
are strong, I 100% agree that in Kenya, right now, the way in which things are being run is that political parties exist with ideologies in theory. That it is individuals who carry the day. It is them who decide. So almost every decision that is made along the lines of what this individual would like. I call any party today. Are you going to be able to tell me that which the ideology is, or are you going to tell me the individual that they're affiliated with? Today.
No. Let's go to the voting system.
No, Eric. If I call a political party today, in Kenya.
That's
Would
right.
you tell me the ideology or would you tell me the individual?
We would go with the individual, and the individual is the person who's the leader of that party, okay? And everybody else, then we look at them in terms of suitability. How close are they to the leader of the party? But also, how influential are they? How invested are they in the issues of the community? Because there are people who will put in that seat, but because they really, really wanted to bring change to the community, because they really, really wanted to bring development, you will vote for them. They will find their way of influencing that leader of the political party so that benefits will come to the people. Okay? And that's what we operate on. You look at a candidate and you think they really understand my issues. You look at them and you think they really are sincere about wanting to bring change. And so you vote for them. And they go in there, and those that are sincere and all will actually try and move things because we see them trying to make changes. With the kind of voting system that we have, where it's just one person and you're voting for the person directly, the direct vote, no, crap. If it was proportional representation, where we are saying that I am a follower of Jubilee or UDA or Maendeleo Chap, and therefore I am going to the ballot and voting for Maendeleo Chap. And then Maendeleo Chap has already presented its list and said, once we win, depending on our percentage of the votes that we get, these are the people that are going to parliament. So you can say that there I'm focusing a lot more on what does the party represent? What does the party mean? I'm voting for the party. Proportional representation of the party will bring these people to the house, like they do in South Africa. You vote for the party.
Right.
And the party then picks the leaders.
Their people.
In Kenya, we vote for the individuals. I am looking at a ballot. In 2017, there were some areas where the MCA ballot were like 2 pages. You turn the page, 17 candidates for MCA. You look at all of them. Half of them you have never heard of. The other half you've heard of, but you don't agree with them. And I want an option there given to me to say, I don't agree with any of these people. And in the end, should the none of the above vote carry a certain weight, then it should mean something. It should mean cancellation of that election.
Right. Cancellation of the election onto something else, however.
Yes.
Cancellation of this election.
For a repeat.
So that you go and repeat. So the question is, are you then bringing forth new individuals? Are you then asking the same individuals, pouring old wine into new wineskins, for example? Are you saying that the same individuals need to go back and think about what it is that the people actually want?
Yes.
So currently, what we're looking at a situation is that people are out here campaigning for issues that are not in line with what Kenyans actually want at the moment.
Yes.
So it's either forget it or raise it to the ground, go back and start this all over again so that you let people know what it is that you'll actually deliver.
You see, can you imagine in a certain constituency, none of the above has gotten 50% of the vote, okay? It means it compels the IEBC to basically just nullify that election and say, we need to have a new election here. The political parties will have to think again. We nominated a candidate. This candidate has not been able to garner the vote. In fact, people are saying they don't agree with our candidate. What should we do? We should listen to the people. So who do you want? Either it means that our nomination process was botched and we know this is what happens. Maybe now there's an opportunity for people to say, you went ahead and botched the nomination. We want our candidate. Political party to conduct fresh nominations. The entire nomination process begins afresh. Political parties, independent candidates nominated afresh, and we go into a new election where people then can see if you've brought the same, but the people have had the candidates have had an opportunity to come back to me and try and campaign and convince me. I may be swayed to say, okay, yeah. I had not understood what Ndu really meant, but now I understand, so I'm going to vote for Ndu. Or the party has actually just removed Ndu from the list and brought in a new person. And I agree with this person, now I'm going to vote for them. It gives the voter the opportunity to have the right leader. Right now, we're just corralled into, these are the people, vote for them. Choose one. And you must choose one.
Under what circumstances would it make sense if the selection that was being then offered to Kenyans was acceptable? And this is it. Because, look, I think we're also dealing within the premise of a prescribed democracy. before, that look, your political party based on ideology is the one then who's going to present an individual to you. That your political party is making essentially this decision on your behalf. They've gone around and they've done whatever they need to do in their primaries, etc., and here they've presented this individual to you. Parties have decided, whereby you had an opportunity to be part of it, wherever grassroots, rising up, etc., you did or didn't, all right. But this has already been prescribed. For me, I think it is at that process that more people ought to be involved. Not at the end of the day, whereby we've done all the groundwork that's supposed to have happened, and then we're presenting these however many individuals to you and say, we've done the selection, now pick. I think at the very beginning, when you're nominating, that is when the majority of the people ought to be involved. That politicking and campaigning and information sharing and building has to be unitized. And it has to be at the micro from the very start. Because by the time you're presenting people at the end of the day, you're already done with the process. It's just for you to say, here we are, we're presenting these people to you, make a decision. You don't know what process they've been through. You don't know what circumstances under which are they properly aligned. That's why they've been selected. And so for me, I don't even think that at that point, when you're saying none of the above, you've not been part of the process.
Yeah, by choice.
So have people be part of the process.
I chose not to be part of the process because I don't subscribe to any of these political parties.
No, but can you imagine now?
I don't subscribe to any political party.
Here you're saying
political parties have brought a candidate.
You finish cooking the meal. You give me the finished product. I come and I tell you I don't want it.
Yes.
And I say, go back to the kitchen.
Yes.
But there's still the same people who are cooking up this thing in the beginning and you're not involved in the process. And this is what I'm saying. Have more people in the country involved in the process. The corralling that you're talking about is at the end of the process. If we really want to be invested in the kind of leaders that you have, you must be involved in the nitty-gritty. What is happening in your area? How are you involved? Who are you talking to? Should you contribute to this individual that is being picked at the party level, at the grassroots level? And I'm saying yes, because by the time that whole process is done and then you're not involved at the end of the day, you said none of the above, be involved in the kitchen. That's what I'm saying. We need to have people who are more involved in this political process, because we cannot come at the end of the day and say, I don't like this person. And then?
Yeah, and then go back.
No. You, same people, go back and cook it again.
Yes.
Who've botched it up.
Yes.
Trust the same people who've botched it up
until you get it
do
right.
It again.
Yes.
And you sit in the periphery and watch them.
Until you get it right.
Be involved in the process as a people. You cannot point fingers. Be involved in the process from the very beginning. Speak up, write.
You have
talk,
a point. You have a point, Ndu.
Be involved.
You have a point. However, remember I said the nomination process happened. I did not agree with it. If I did not agree with the nomination process, I did not vote for the person who won for the political party in that nomination process. So, don't force me to vote for them.
So the silence should not have been heard resoundingly at that point when it was a nomination process.
It wasn't silent. No, I participated.
Yeah, but you didn't agree at that point. So you've gone along
I voted no.
But you've gone along with your disagreement until this point where, imagine.
I have not gone along. That's what the point you're not getting.
You voted no.
I don't know why.
No, listen.
Let's take a break. Then we come back and speak in English. 8:30, Kenya's biggest conversation. Should there be a none of the above option in the election, in the ballot, for whatever seat? If you just look at the candidates and you're thinking, all right, for any of these MCAs, I don't agree with any of them, none of the above, or president, or member of parliament, or member of the Senate, or woman rep, or governor, should there be an option that just says none of the above?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive.
I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, say, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
A bit of advice. Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the weather with Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 17. We'll see highs of 25 today and lows of 12. Nakuru is partly sunny at 16, highs of 25. 23 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 14. And Eldoret is sunny at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 12. Kisumu is sunny today at 22, highs of 29 and lows of 19. And we're looking at sunny conditions in Kakamega at 23, highs of 28 and lows of 14. Mombasa raining at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 23. And it's also wet in Malindi at 26. With highs of 29, it'll come down to lows of 25. Outside of Kenya, in Kampala, it's mostly sunny at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is mostly cloudy at 24, with highs of 30. It'll come down to lows of 22. Lagos, mostly clear at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 24. Sunny conditions at 15 in Joburg, highs of 25 and lows of 14. And Kinshasa is sunny at 23. We'll see highs of 34 and lows of 25.
Spice up your life.
All right, still continues to build up in most parts of the city this morning, and we're looking at heavy traffic then on Mombasa Road where it was not earlier. And coming into the city centre, also jam-packed from all corners of the city. Langata Road is one to watch, coming out of Westlands as well. It's built up quite some on Mombasa Road, rather on the Thika Superhighway also. Jogo Road not so bad as you get off onto Landis and then into the CBT. Traffic is moving today and nothing too painful, at least not for now. Let's keep it that way, shall we? Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice FM. Nyeri.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's
94.4.
26 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. Siti Muga will be joining us tomorrow, God willing. We're live on Spice FM. We are live streaming the show, and we're also live on KTN Home. So I want to paint a picture for you. So we're heading towards next year's general election. Yeah, candidates are coming. There are those that are saying, you know what, I'm willing to be the next MCA in this ward. I want to be the next woman rep. I want to be the next governor, MP, senator, or president of the republic. Many of them are coming to us, and they are basically just telling us what they'd like to do. You're listening to them. You're interacting with them. Some of them have not even reached out to you yet. Then you get to the ballot. After you've basically been active in looking and engaging in the political process, you get to the ballot and you're not convinced that any of them would be the best candidate for a particular seat. Let's just say the MP's seat. If you get to that ballot and you don't agree with any of the candidates that are on the ballot for the MP's seat, should you have an option to say none of the above? And I'm saying yes, we should have that option. And if that none of the above gets to a certain threshold, let's say 50%, then the IEBC is compelled to cancel that election and we start afresh. It basically means that the political parties that nominated their candidates did not listen to the wishes of the people. There was manipulation of the nomination process. We know this happens a lot in this country. It also could mean that even the independent candidates who were presenting themselves for the nomination, some of them were just coming there and were thought their money could win them, or their affiliation with the person who's running for president countrywide could get them the seat. And we just don't feel this person. If a sizable number of constituents feel that none of the candidates missed the muster, we should be able to say none of the above and then election is cancelled.
I'm saying that you give the power and the control back to the same individuals who delivered you this thing that you were not satisfied with. And that's why I'm saying that the process of inclusion, the process of participation has to be a lot more robust in the preliminary areas of campaigning and politicking and getting to know who your candidate is, right? So people are frustrated because they were manipulated into making a particular choice. And I'm saying at that point, a lot more involvement needs to happen, whether it is civic education, whether it is voter education, whether it is voter participation. There's a fallacy right now in this country, overwhelmingly, that voter participation means I go and cast my vote and that's it. And I think we need to start to step away from that. That voter participation means participation in the entire process besides August 9th or 10th or whatever, when you go and line up and cast your vote. That you should be involved in the process when the ground is being tilled, when the seeds are being sought after, where the water is going to come from, that you should be involved in that process. Because for me, by the time imagine, the food is ready, you have the plate and you're serving, and then you say, actually, you know what? I'm not okay with this, and the entire process has gone on. Meanwhile, you could have been involved in the harvest of this produce. You could have been involved in the hiring of the individual who was going to cook the food.
Yes.
You could have been involved in all of that.
Yes.
And I'm saying what we ought to push for is voter participation beyond the ballot.
This is one way of pushing for that voter participation.
But you're cancelling everything and then sending it back to the same people.
Let me explain why I'm saying this is one way. I've just started by saying we know very well that political party nominations are heavily manipulated in this country. We have heard it said very many times. We've even seen studies conducted, and it has shown us that people buy the nomination ticket. People do not get elected at the nomination queue. People buy the nomination ticket. So one way of forcing political parties to actually be democratic with the nominations is this. If you do not allow your members to participate in the nomination properly, if your nomination is not clean, then the candidate that you present is not even going to go through. Just don't think just because you're ODM and this is an ODM strong zone, that the person that has gotten this, the ODM ticket, will then just get ticked because, I'm just ticking 6 pieces, ODM. No. There's an option here that's available to the voter to say, you know what, we told you that this is not the right candidate for this position. So we are saying X. None of the above. It forces political parties to know we do not want to go and be told to repeat this process, so we shall make sure that we have a clean process at the beginning. It forces candidates to make sure that they go and reach out to all their possible voters and they sell their ideas and their agenda to the possible voters. Convince people. Let people come out to vote. In 2017, 80% of people, registered voters, out of the 19 million who were registered to vote, went out to vote. Who are these 20% who did not turn out to vote, and why? It is highly likely that the 20% who did not turn out to vote were not turning out to vote because they just didn't feel connected with the process.
It's highly likely that a big part of the 80% actually came out to vote because they felt like it was something that,
it's a fait accompli.
Absolutely. That it's something that they felt, okay, well, we're obligated to do. Not necessarily because they felt that they were participating in the decision for the country at that point.
It's also highly likely that the 80% who came out to vote were coming out to vote for only 2 or 3 of the 6 seats. They are very sure that they want to vote for so-and-so as governor, so-and-so as MP, and so-and-so as woman rep. For president, for senator, for MCA, they were just not invested in it.
Doesn't matter.
And then that's the point where you say that when you're going there and you just do not know who you want to vote for MCA, you don't feel you click with any of these people, just say none of the above. Vote for the one that you want to say, this one I want to vote for president because I'm sure that this is the right candidate. Vote for that. You're not sure about this MCA candidate X. None of the above. So if none of the above is a majority in any of the 6, then it's cancelled.
Sure. Also this none of the above also then requires an extensive amount, guess what, of education and still participation. Because then you will still have a lot of people who feel, all right, I'm not going to think through the process. I'm still not going to actively participate through the process because I have what? I have an option of saying, None of you.
Yes.
But you see, what I'm still insisting, in as much as this could help, because I see what you mean, that it could force, what it essentially does is it forces you to get your ducks in a row before you get to that point where people are going to make the decision. That you make sure that you're offering up pristine individuals or pristine options to have that choice be made, right? But we still cannot run away from the absolute importance that lies in this kind of participation.
Indeed.
People are heavily invested on the day and not the process, and that's what
And
that's what I'm really, really gunning for.
And
that
it's
you
true,
will
by
see
the way.
huge change in not just the decision, in the whys that are asked. When you sit here basically with your hands in your lap, in the whys that are asked later, can you imagine if people were involved, participatory in a process across board, not just a handful of civil society or a handful of people who work in public service here and there, but if people were involved in the process? And I keep giving the example of this particular US election, where people voted more than they had ever voted before based on information and knowledge that was shared to them. There were people of the black community who had never voted, not because they were busy on the day, but because, number one, they were never really interested. They didn't realize how important their contribution was. And now that being made available to them made a difference in how they made their decision. And that's what I'm saying. If we push for participation from the very minute level, from the most basic unit, if we push for that participation, I think we're likely to see a bigger change later. So even when we talk about party nominations and things like that, if people are really invested at that level, I think we would see a huge difference.
How do we push for that? How we push for that is by adding this provision. None of the above. You know what it does? What this does is it also forces everybody who should be involved in voter education, in civic education, to take their job seriously. Very many institutions, IEBC is involved in civic education. Political parties are involved in voter education. They do not do it. They just tick a box.
They don't.
Now, if you know that you have a chance of actually going into an election, and 50% of the people will say, I don't feel any of these candidates, despite you having 20 people as candidates for a particular seat, people say, none of the above. People will start thinking. The fact that you also have now to come and understand and listen to the people's needs. Politicians keep telling us, we've got our finger on the pulse. We know what people want. Yes, you know what people want. And you just come and give them, that's just some top-level words. You need a hospital. We are going to build a hospital. We are going to do these roads. We are going to do this and the other. You're not saying how. People are now going to start competing on how are you going to do it. And just to make sure that you don't tick none of the above, you actually tick my name, not because I'm in Jubilee and this is a Jubilee zone, but because you actually believe that I can deliver. I will explain to you. I'll explain to you how I'm going to do it. I'll explain to you why you need to come out to vote and vote for me, because you have connected with my message.
Or that you will involve me in the process. And I'll give the example of, do you remember a couple of months ago where we saw this story of this beautiful swanky market that was built in Garissa County, I believe, and it's been empty for 4 months. Why has it been empty? Because the people said, okay, this is great, it's nice, there's facilities, there's water, etc., but it has taken us away from our market. That the people passing on this busy highway are the people that we targeted to sell to. So what you've done is that you've brought us inside, and so the people that would normally buy from us are not going to stop their vehicles and come into the market, right? So had we been involved in the process from the beginning, because I'm sure somewhere on some document it's written public participation took place and here we erected this market, etc. Had you involved us in the process, because essentially what they've done with that market is that they've ticked none of the above, Eric. At that market, it has already been established, it has already been built. As far as they're concerned, county fees are being paid, but the people have said none of the above. What has happened? That market is going to sit there. But had they been involved in the process, solutions would have then been arrived at as to the people who are the end users of this thing.
Yep.
If we are involving them in the beginning, because these are not duds, these are individuals who are thinking they're making a living from this. If we involve them at the very beginning, then we get a better product, and there's people who will continually keep you to account. Somebody who's been involved in a project from the very beginning, as things are going bad down the line, are they more likely to involve themselves when it's going bad had they not been involved? For sure. If you'd involved me in the beginning and I see things going downhill, I want to be involved to be able to solve the problem. But you didn't involve me from the beginning. You want to give me a finished product. I will look at it going bad and just keep quiet. And this is my insistence. Whether it is things to do with community, whether it is health, whether it is education, things that essentially the custodians of government would eventually do and be involved in. That if people don't begin to get involved, the none of the above option, sure, might force them. But what it does is that it just gives you finality. And I'm saying the process is what must be robust.
But Ndu.
Yes?
No, it does not give you finality. It gives you a tool with which to send the people back to the drawing board. All right? It is not final. It is repeat.
In that process,
it is like having the Supreme Court adjudicating the presidential election. It says, yes, if we find that there was something wrong, either there was tampering of the votes, there was tampering of the transmission process, we can send you back.
Give an example of 2017. What happened? When you had 80% people who came and voted in that election in 2017 and they felt that something went wrong. Same court.
In only one election.
Sure, that's okay. Same court came and said...
They said the process of transmitting this one, go back.
But result nullified. People came back to vote. What was the percentage of people who came back to vote?
Because some of the candidates decided they're not going to participate in it and publicly called their voters not to turn out. And imagine if the voters had turned out. You see? The end result is that, yes, the winning candidate...
We don't know what the end result would have been if more people had turned out.
The final end result that we have is that the winning candidate, the one that was eventually declared winner, following the order of the court, following the conduct of this election, was elected by a 30% turnout. Okay? Now, this X of none of the above, what it does is it's a tool. It's a tool that the voters use. It's a tool that the voters use to say that we are not satisfied with any of the candidates that have been brought forth. It sends a message to their political parties. It sends a message to the candidates themselves. It also encourages candidates who would like to come forth and they are not really confident to come forth.
Sure.
Because they can see it's not going to be a 6-piece suit, blah, 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 blah conversation. It is going to be a what conversation? It's going to be an individual voter conversation.
Sure.
The people are not just going to say 6-piece. Because I am Jubilee, I'll do Jubilee. Because I am ODM and NASA, I'll do ODM and NASA candidates. No. There's an option for people to just basically say, I don't agree with them.
Sure.
Let's open up the phone line. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Abu Jamal says, we need the none of the above to present our varying views for better leadership. In fact, this will improve voter turnout. And John says the none of the above people, those ones who will go there and say none of the above, should be encouraging good leaders and worthy candidates to seek election. So if you don't feel that you have a good candidate, you also have an opportunity to say, you so-and-so, I think you should vie. People will start participating through and through because you know that there's this one thing that can actually cancel this entire election. Works always.
Sure. It works better. It works better when you have inclusion. It works better when you have participation. And I think that it will give an all-encompassing approach to people-oriented politics, whereby you have people involved. Because again, what you're doing is that you're not just handing power over to Eric. That you say, all right, go back and cook it, which I agree with. Because, there's some answers that it is none of the above. But it still makes it very clear that the power is really, truly in the hands of all of us. That because I have participated until this point, and I still reserve this this tool whereby I can say none of the above. I still reserve that. But guess what? I have still participated and I have lent my voice along the line. And even should you then, so let's say in the next one, where I actually pick B as opposed to D, it means that I am still involved in your leadership and governance moving forward. That because I was involved in the very beginning, that I can still come in the middle of your leadership when something may go wrong or right and still lend my voice. How detrimental is it when we look at it today that things happen as you're just watching and they fly by? Good, bad, window is open, everything, vermin, rats, and everything flies in, right? But here you are, because of the fact that you were involved from the very beginning, even if you do vote in one process, none of the above, but that you come back after that and allow a process to continue whereby you are participating and involved. What kind of strength don't you think you wield as a people coming together, because we're all involved in this process? And it doesn't mean that everybody is out to do. There are little things that you've read, that you understand, that you hold the person at the smallest, at the most micro units of governance and leadership, that person is held accountable, that we're all involved in that process, that you are lending your voice at one place or the other. Can you imagine if don't even have to imagine, you're living it right now, that you're not involved in the process and things happen and you don't even know what's going on, but that you bear the brunt of bad leadership. That is what we are currently in today.
We always talk about a silent majority, okay? And the silent majority is the one that I'm saying. It's corralled into picking somebody who's been selected by somebody else. The silent majority is the one that was not involved in the participation, was not consulted, or was not even included. Their voice was not included in the
considered as important
participation of the selection of the candidates. So the candidates have just been brought by Jubilee, by ODM, by UDA, by whichever party.
And say, pick from this.
And you're told, now these are the candidates. And you have to pick from them. And because you like the UDA candidate, and this is some UDA candidate in the position of MCA, you just go and say, okay, yeah, sawa, I'm going to give this, so because I'm supporting the UDA presidential candidate, or I'm supporting the UDA governor candidate. But you're saying, no, you actually have another choice. Because people think I've been given 6 ballots by the polling clerk. I've come in, I'm coming to vote. I'm going to vote for 3 people, basically. There are 6, yes, but I am very sure about those 3. President, MP, governor. Woman rep, senator, MCA. I don't feel it. But you've been given the 6 ballots. So people just do the picky punky. Okay, now that these guys are in this particular party, I'm just gonna give the MCA from this party and the woman rep and the senator from this party. But now you have an option. You can say, I have not interacted with any of these candidates for MCA, so none of the above. But when it comes to governor, for MP, for president, I voted for the candidate that I wanted. And that vote goes. It gives you more power as a voter to express your opinion. I feel that our opinion is usually just too much restrained when you're given those 6 ballots and there's a whole queue. I mean, you've left 1,000 people on the queue. You've come in here. You have no clue who is in the ballot for MCA, and you're just coming to vote, and you just tick. They didn't reach you. They didn't communicate to you. You have no idea who they are.
But they can.
And they didn't. And that's why I'm saying, let's have that option. Let's go to the phone lines. 0719 012 600. Should we have that option on the ballot? Victor, good morning.
Good morning, and how are you? Long time people.
Yes,
good morning, Victor.
It's been a while, Victor.
It's been forever, but glad to hear what you guys are discussing today.
Right.
I have a few inputs today. Number one, I think I like your idea. It's brilliant. But again, I don't see how these people can include it, and I have reasons why. Their idea is to win by all means possible. But I'm thinking we need to realize that the political ground has really shifted. And come 2022, things will be very different. And I mean, politics will now become very personal. And it will not be, like the National Party. There will be no KANU that was back in the 90s. Now we'll have regional parties. You can see what is happening in Central. You can see what is happening in Western. You can see what is happening in Nakuru. You can see what is happening in the northeastern. All these areas are coming up with their parties, and they really want to tie their local politics to their local parties. If you look at the discussion that is going on in Mount Kenya, it is going on through a number of party representatives sitting together and starting to discuss on how they share the national cake. So every region will now be forced to now look at what local party will take care of their interests. So that will actually counter your idea, which is brilliant, because at the end of the day then, the locals will find a reason to participate in the elections and again be forced to agree on local leaders who will stand with them through, the 5-year period.
But you see, just because the party is local, it doesn't mean that every candidate there represents my ideals.
Let me explain why. At least your ideas may not be represented, but if the other 80% is represented, then democracy checks in. If you look at what happens with national politics today, even if 80% turn up and one party takes the leadership, they tend to take up leadership from top, the sooty thing, from top to bottom. Now, the locals end up not getting what they wanted because, again, when a local MP pushes an agenda on behalf of the locals, which does not align itself with the national party, or which is governing, the national governing party, then that ideology or that idea is pushed aside.
Yeah.
So the people fail to get exactly what they wanted, represented.
Yeah.
So now this will change because now the governing party will not be able to whip the locals because the locals will be represented by their own in their local party.
Interesting there, Victor. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let's take a break now and say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home who've been with us since the top of the hour. The conversations continue on SpiceFM around the country or also live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. A very good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
And we'd like to still hear from you. I see, Brian, you were calling and you wanted to contribute to this. Victor brings in a very interesting angle here about, political parties now bringing local interests. Local parties bringing local interests. And then those local interests are then being represented at some point. That doesn't mean that because this is a political party. There was a party called GNU that was strong in Nyeri. It elected a governor in 2013. And Mwangi Kiunjuri was a leader of that party. It doesn't mean that all the candidates at that local level are still aligned to me.
Not necessarily.
Conversation continues into the next hour. A very good morning to you and thank you very much for tuning in. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room on SpiceFM around the country. Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri and Malindi. www.spicefm.co.ke and SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. We'd love to hear your comments as well. On Instagram, SpiceFM KE. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The building that collapsed in Kisumu had been earmarked for demolition. The Kenya Construction Authority has said the building had many faults and was to be taken down as a way of saving any users' future problems. 3 people died while 6 others sustained injuries after the 2-story building collapsed in Mamboleo, Kisumu. The bodies of the deceased were taken to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. The government will grant amnesty to anyone who confesses to being involved in corruption cases in the country as part of the government's recent move to reclaim public property as opposed to a series of court hearings. Nuruddin Haji has said that the anti-corruption law will be amended to allow those who confess to involvement in corruption to be pardoned instead of being prosecuted. In addition, Haji said that the amendment stipulates that a corruption suspect will not be brought to justice but will be required to recover stolen property or money. Residents of Uasin Gishu County want religious leaders to control politicians' speeches in churches instead of banning them entirely. Led by Pius Martim and John Tarus, they have said that many churches rely on politicians to raise funds for church activities.
Ingawa tunawaona wanasiasa wengi inapokaribia uchaguzi wanafurika makanisani, lakini baada ya uchaguzi hatuwaoni makanisani. Lakini pia tuna wale viongozi ambao tunawajua kwamba wao ni waumini kweli, wamekuwa kwa makanisani katika maisha yao yote. Labda mambo ambayo viongozi wa dini wangeangazia zaidi ni kwamba wanapopewa nafasi hao viongozi wasiende pale mbele kutoa matamshi ambayo hayaambatani na mambo ya dini.
And ODM Chief Raila Odinga took his unity campaign at Kajiado County, where he urged leaders to continue formulating political goals that will represent the aspirations of their communities. Odinga has dismissed claims that some political parties are aiming to achieve ethnic agendas. The statement came in the wake of Deputy President William Ruto's call for Kenyans to be vigilant against leaders who use ethnic divisions to push their agenda.
And nobody should feel ashamed that we are meeting as regions and even as ethnic groups. Kenya is made up of regions and ethnic groups, diverse and sometimes conflicting interests. But Kenya belongs to all of us. We must begin thinking of how to build a country where citizens and leaders are free to pursue sectional interests, but still put the country's interests above their own.
He called on the government to address the challenges facing the Maa community, such as historical injustices, drought, land grabbing, improving infrastructure, and providing better education to residents.
Maasai women need our help to attain economic empowerment. On their own, Maa women have made Kenya known for cultural ornaments like beads, but they have not benefited much from it. We must scale up investment in education of girls and all the youth in Maasai land, in addition to investing in promoting skills and talents of the youth here.
The Kilifi County government has set aside 100 million shillings to deal with the famine that plagues residents of various parts of the county following the ongoing drought. Minister of Devolution in the county, Professor Gabriel Katana, said the money would be used to buy food that would be distributed to the victims. He noted that they have also set aside 32 million shillings to provide residents with cash so that they can earn a living. Meanwhile, at Standard Group, we continue asking you to continue maintaining the COVID-19 protocol so that together we may win this fight against COVID-19. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still in traffic hour this morning. Looking at it on Mombasa Road into the CBD as well. That's where you find the bulk of traffic today. On the Thika Superhighway, actually stretching a little further back than we saw it previously. On Langata Road as well, a bit of an issue there. But hopefully it'll open up in a short while. Mombasa Road also continues inbound traffic and outbound as well, especially at the Maradaima area, heading out then towards Cabanas. Okay, let's keep an eye on things. Not too sticky right now. Hope it doesn't get worse than this. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only
It's
way to
6:59.
start your...
Good morning. It's the 14th day of the 9th month. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. Today's proverb, an adult goat does not bleat for nothing. An adult goat does not bleat for nothing. In Kikamba, mboi nene ndetiva mana. Mboi nene ndetiva mana. In Kimeru, ndenge nkuru etetiaga oderi.
Okay.
Ndenge nkuru etetiaga oderi.
Oderi.
Yes.
Okay.
An old goat does not bleat for nothing. When you hear it, kuna jambo.
There's something.
Kuna jambo. So, should there be a none of the above option in the 2022 elections? You know, that's the conversation that we're having. That's the debate that we're having. What does it do? It empowers you as a voter to go in there and say, you know what, you guys, I came, I queued, I participated in the nomination process of the political party.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw the shenanigans that you did play, because we see that you play those shenanigans all the time. Somebody else with more money came and they got the ticket. And you've put them now on the ballot. I am coming to tell you, my friend, no. I'm not going to say no by voting for the other person who is on the ballot, because I also don't believe that they are the right candidate. My candidate is not on the ballot. And I want to say none of the above. That's the question we are asking. Should that option be available? 0719-012-600. Nicole in Kisii, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Should this option be available on the ballot?
Okay, yeah, I think it should be available so that people can express their opinion. But personally, I don't vote, and I'm not sure I'll vote.
Why?
I don't vote because I feel like they ask my opinion and they already know the answer. So even if I give my opinion, it's respected. It can even be shared respectfully.
So you think it's a predetermined decision? Even by the time you're going to the ballot, the candidate there's a candidate who's already won.
Not even already won. There's a candidate who has already decided they are going to be president no matter what. So it's not exactly a fair process, and we know that. So why waste time going to facilitate an unfair process? We just want to make it look legal, but the decision has already been made. That's why I don't vote.
Nicole, can I ask you, are you among the country's youth, those that are considered the country's youth?
The country?
Youth.
Yeah, I'm among the country youth. I could have voted in 2017.
Yes.
But I did not, because the previous election, the way I saw it, I felt that it was not going to be a fair process. And then you see the way the election was done, and then the High Court said that they can do a re-election, and there was a 30% turnout. I don't think the president should even have been... I don't understand how we got to have a president from a 30% turnout. It's not even... I don't understand how that happened.
Okay. Good points there. Thank you very much, Nicole.
And can I say something else?
Yes, go ahead.
I feel that most of the responsibility lies with the Kenyan citizens, because when one section of the country feels that the election has been rigged and another section doesn't seem to care, there's nothing that can be done. But if the entire country wants a free and fair process, even if it's not what other people wanted, but they know it's free and fair, then everybody will want to vote because they know their voice has to count. But if you complain about feeling that the election was rigged, but other people don't care, then you just get tired. You decide that's how I want to vote anymore.
Nicole, you have some very good points, but there's something wrong with your line. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you in a better line someday soon. But thank you for your contribution. Ed in Nanyuki, good morning.
I hope you had a very good weekend. Hello.
Yes. Hi, Ed.
I hope you had a very good weekend. Now, I think it's what the previous caller was saying, how much she doesn't have belief, much, how much she doesn't believe in the elections. I think that is a mirror image of what most youth are going through right now, Eric. And not just the youth, the electorate at large. There are some people here who are like, I don't even see the reason why I will wake up and vote. And I'm going to tell you this, Eric. If we get that option that you're saying, it's a good option, but you're forgetting that we do not have a credible election system.
Who says we don't have a credible election system? I'm not forgetting. I'm not aware that we don't have a credible election system, Ed.
Okay, I don't think it's foolproof. That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There have to be loopholes here and there. You've seen it even in these by-elections so far. Here's the thing, Eric. Even the mindset that people have. For example, the first caller before 9, he said that we need to have political parties based on local communities, etc. Well, that mindset is, kama hauna chama, you can't be a leader. And that is a very wrong misconception. That is why during one of your breaks, there's something that you play, and there's someone who says, ukiwin nomination, umepata hiyo ingine. Because it's true. There are some people who are elected just because the electorate believes in a party. But, not the person.
But Ed,
I think, first of all, yes.
Ed, let's not forget a number of things. Number one, the Constitution and the laws of Kenya recognize that it's not only political party candidates who can be elected. That's why we have independent candidates. In fact, we have many people in parliament, even in the county as governors, who are independent. Your governor, the governor of your neighboring county, like Laikipia, won on an independent ticket.
E-ticket, yes.
Yeah.
True.
Secondly, when you talk about elections, and I'm very linear about this. When you talk about election and saying, our electoral process is not foolproof, that's true. There are very few electoral processes in the world that could be said they are foolproof. But also, do we have a credible election process? I think we do, Ed. And I look back at the same thing we say. In the last general election of 2017, how many petitions were taken to court? How many petitions won? It's a minority of the people who participated in the election that went to court to complain about the result, and the courts upheld their complaints. That means that a majority of the people who got elected in MCA, all the 6 seats,
yes,
there was no complaint.
Yes.
Credibility.
I think the option should be actually, if you're going to polls them, and you're taking a ballot, if you're not interested in taking or in electing a women rep, there's no need of taking that ballot. If you don't want to elect an MP, if there's no candidate that suits your needs, then don't take that ballot. If you've gone there specifically for MCA, go take that ballot for the MCA, save time, and just leave.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tell you this.
So no need of taking that ballot and saying none of the above.
Okay, even if it's there, I'm going to tell you this. Okay, let me give you, and this is my point, not Standard Group's view. This is my point, and here it is, and that is why I was saying I don't trust in the electoral system of Kenya, because those quote and quote none of the above vote, some of them are going to be counted for a specific candidate.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this, Eric. I'm not a pessimist, but let me
so
tell
even
you
the none of the above is a tool on the side of politicians.
It could still be rigged.
Yeah, the none of the above
right,
could
yes,
be
it
rigged.
could be rigged.
All right,
It
Ed.
could be rigged. Actually, let me tell you, Eric, Kidogo. During the BBI process, when people were like, send a referendum, me, I was of the line. If you don't want this BBI, don't go and vote no for it. Boycott. I won't account anything. That is how much I don't trust our electoral system. Me personally, as a Kenyan, following what I have seen. Have
Okay.
a good day, guys.
You too. Have a good day. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I think we'll disagree with Eric on the none of the above issue.
Okay. Why?
As you clearly stated, last election, close to 80% of people came and voted.
Yes.
That's a very huge mandate.
Yes.
80%.
Yeah.
And these problems originate from the people. Those party primaries, even if some are flawed, if that good candidate go to independent, people still don't vote for him. Meaning, we have strong parties, contrary to what people think. Other than the big man at the top, other people will not have spent a lot of money to go to party primaries if party factors does not matter. So even those who go to independent, most of them, they don't start from independent. They try their luck in
a party
parties,
somewhere.
and then they move to independent when they fail. Now we try to institutionalize this party by providing political parties fund to big parties that met some threshold of 5% of votes in the subsequent elections. And those monies are supposed to help these parties develop their processes. But then we find people cheering other people when this party lacks internal democracy. You don't have to agree with the party leader or the party. That's how you build parties. You listen to everybody. You call regular meetings so that when a decision is made, it becomes an informed decision. But the will of the people has always been supreme. Even during the Bible's time, people had an option of choosing Jesus and Barabbas.
And they went for the
But
latter.
they chose, and it was respected, and Jesus was crucified. So there's no, I'm not important than the next person.
Sure.
So however they make their choice, let people respect that choice. And on the issue of rigged election, yes.
Let me ask you. Okay,
On the issue
just
of-
continue with the
yes.
rigged election.
On the issue of rigged election, I think as a country we've made a lot of progress in having free and fair elections. Number one, yesteryear, election used to be counted at the constituency level, where you vote, the boxes are transported, some are switching between. But right now, the law states that a maximum a polling station can have is 700. And you finish voting there, and it's counted there.
Right.
So for you to steal 1 million votes, you need to read in a 1,500 station and 100% rate involving those. So it's very difficult to steal election nowadays.
That's very true.
And
Right,
go to
so
your question.
I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
So if we just look back at the last election, and I like the points you've made. Yes, 80% turnout means that there was huge appetite to participate in this process.
Yes.
And then you also made a point, and it's a strong point, that there are some candidates who came in as independents who were rejects of a political party nomination process, and they were still not voted in.
Yeah.
That's very true. But I also want to ask you, is it also true that there are very many people who participated in the election, voted 6-piece, only because they were going for 2 or 3 of those seats, but the other 3, they just didn't care?
That's also true, and that's one of the main reasons why people go to those party tickets, because they know there are some people they will not interact with, but they will come and vote for that party.
Now, those are the people.
That's the main reason why people start from
the party.
But the problem begins with the people, not the leaders. Because if I want to be elected, I just understand the psychology of the voter.
Sure.
And if the voter wants that party,
that's why, Brian, I'm saying, for those other 3, when you're going to the ballot, you know you want to vote for MP, you know your candidate, and you're already set. You know you want to vote for president and the senator, and you're set. The other 3, you just
It doesn't really
neither
matter
here nor there. If you're given the option of saying none of the above, you go for that option, because you're basically saying it's not about the party. It's not about this is Raila's party, so I'm giving Raila all the people. It's about me and my representation.
Yes, I agree with you, but the only problem is, other than the presidential vote, which requires 50 plus 1, the rest has no that threshold. So even if we stand like 20 people and I get 10% and I'm the majority, because that none of the above is not a person, I will still be declared the winner. So unless we change, we say
the none of the
you see,
above
the reason why
will
it's
have
50,
weight.
50 plus one
If none of the
threshold-
above is the majority,
yes,
then it has weight. It means that that election is
then,
cancelled.
but you see, the reason why we brought 50 plus 1 in the presidential election was we used to have presidents who used to win election with 30%, 25%, because people used to divide their vote. So when you reach a 50 plus 1 threshold in a presidential election, it means at least it's broad enough.
Yeah, you have a white
Now,
mandate.
unless we introduce that rule also in other elective seats, that's why it will make sense. But it will be very expensive. We will be repeating this election 3, 4, 5 times.
Right, the none of the above option would
Yeah,
be
so we should
recurrent.
encourage people, as Andu was saying, we encourage people to start participation at the party level.
Right.
Okay.
You know, those nominations, only 10% of registered voters participate
Yeah.
in those nominations. So you find a small group of people determine the candidate at a big election. So unless people start participating from the party level, we will continue in this cycle for a long time.
For a long time.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you very much.
Zachary, good morning.
Oh, good morning. I was almost locked out, but I said no, I must try.
You must, yes, and thank you for staying on the line.
Very quickly, let me remind you something that I forgot to remind you yesterday. Before I now chip into the topic, very quickly. On Friday, we had a proverb. Remember the one that the Kayu Gasha Gasha Adi.
Yes.
And I don't know whether I've told you that in the evenings I normally follow the program on YouTube very, very well. And I have noticed that my phone is having some problems, and I'm going to really spend a huge amount to buy a very, 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 very state-of-the-art phone, yeah? Strictly to speak with you. Now, you said that for the Kaiho, you said it's a fox, the fox, yeah? Muthui, you said in Kikuyu, it's Muthui, yeah? I tended to clear that one by saying that the fox is the Muthui in Kikuyu. Kaiho is I think the Mongol, yeah?
Okay.
But some other people can chip in there. You know, it's good to really be up to date with the information, yeah?
Yes.
Muthui is the fox. Now, coming to the option, the none of the above option, that is unattainable. It is null and void. Do you know why?
Why?
And somebody should appoint me to be a judge somewhere, okay? So that I can be repeating those words.
Why?
Do you know why?
Why?
Because before Eric Latiff's name appears on the ballot paper, there has been so many democratic processes, from you expressing your interest that, do you know that I'm vying for I'm eyeing to be the MC of certain ward, yeah, or a woman, or an MP, yeah.
Yes.
And then you in the bar or wherever, in the funerals, we shall tell you, forget about you. Can you try to be the chairman of the cattle tip, you know?
Yes.
But for the MP, forget, okay? Now there comes also the nomination. We go there, all of us are in Jubilee or whatever party, and we line up and we say, these are the nominees. Can we nominate the ones that we want, yeah?
Yes.
Then from there, you are told, okay, can you now go and campaign? And you shall meet us in the villages, and we shall tell you this and this and this and this, and we ask you questions, yeah?
Yes.
Such that by the time you are going to the ballot paper,
you know
we
whether
have
people have bought in or not.
Yeah. And can I also say this, yeah? The null and void option has been there. If you ask the electoral guys, yeah? There is somebody who goes to the electoral station and queues, just like others, yeah? And once he goes inside there, because he knows that all of these people are not going to vote in, none of them represent my interest, yeah?
Yes.
I will cancel. And did you know what those, whatever are called? They are
spoiled
called
votes.
Spoiled votes. So the option is there.
And they are not counted. Now, see, now that's the issue, Zachary. Spoiled votes do not matter.
They don't matter. Somebody made
Spoiled
a mistake
votes
somewhere.
are just a noise. They are not a voice.
Okay.
Now, imagine with the example that you've given me, Eric Latif has come to the pub and he has told you, guys, I want to be the next governor. And you've told Eric, Mos, can you just do this? Can you go get married first? All those things that you tell them, okay?
Okay.
Eric Latif went to the party, the one that is holding sway in Gatondo South in 2022.
Okay.
And participated in the nomination.
Okay.
People voted for Zachary in that party nomination. But Eric Latif has connections with the party owner.
Okay.
So Eric bought the ticket and ends up on the ballot.
Okay.
What is Ndu going to do when she's the one who told Eric, you forget about this thing? She did not vote for him at the nomination, but she still finds him on the ballot.
Okay.
Currently, what Ndu is going to do, Ndu is going to not vote for Eric, but by choosing somebody else. That somebody else may not be somebody that she likes.
Let me answer you that by saying this, yeah? Like now, see, I'm calling you.
Yes.
See, I called you yesterday.
Yes.
I'm engaging with you people because, and I'm ready to spend even my money to engage with you. And let me tell you this, yeah? Listening to such discussions in the morning is not very, it's not very easy, yeah? Because it engages our brain, we invest, and you are educating us. We are engaging so that you are engaging us when you go to the election. What are the things that you look for? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Many people like now, many people I know, they have tuned to stations that are talking of nonsense and playing some good music. They think they enjoy. Okay. They are not participating in the process, civic process, like now what you are doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The money that I spend every day, I know it has, calling you and engaging with you, maybe it has helped somebody because of the points that I raise. It also helps me because I'm also listening to other people who are knowledgeable and they care about this country, okay? Such that when those guys come, yeah, depending on how much I've gained from these topics, yeah, very nice topics, I will be able to put that person there and tell him, okay, and that is why I said that yesterday. I would ask that person who is bringing a million in the church and ask him, how unfair is your God that he is giving you all this money, and we guys, we are almost spending our days without food, okay? I mean, can you go and tell your God that we don't care, we don't want to know about him, okay? This is the discussion that we want, and we must continue investing in it, and we must support people like you.
So, exactly what you're saying, essentially, is that people need to be involved in the process from the very beginning and heavily invested as such, not waiting to be able to say later, well, we don't want any of these options.
Not waiting
but be
for last
involved
minute.
and curating an option from the beginning.
Okay, before we finish, Mr. Eric, let me say this, yeah? In the program, I have never had anyone, you, the panelists, and even we, the contributors, or the audience, yeah?
Yeah.
All of us say that corruption is bad and we should fight this devil. This evil is bad. It's not doing us well, yeah? And I believe that some of those people who have followed you, they cannot even take a shilling from a politician. We are going to engage them in some very serious issues. The way we call that the hot seat. And I would want you to invite me as a layman. And then I talk to my fellow layman, yeah?
Yes.
How should we deal with this guy who is coming with lots of money, lots of promises?
That's true.
There is that money, and then there is reality on the ground. Eric, you cannot tell me that you are going to pipe milk into my house. You are going to pipe even petrol into my house during the campaign time. And I know this is not reality.
It's not reality. Zachary, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Dennis, who's also been on the line. Have a lovely day, Zachary.
Thanks, Zachary.
Oh, same.
Dennis in Ahero, good morning.
Yeah, this is Dennis Jore from Ahero.
Yes, Dennis.
I would just like to say that democracy is very expensive. And that's why Socrates, the father of philosophy, said that, he does not like democracy. Democracy is very, very expensive. The idea of having the option. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, the idea of having the option of none of the above in the candidate is a good idea, yes, but it had already been adopted by the new constitution.
How?
and that's why we are having independent candidates, such that those who are not satisfied by the party preliminaries have options of going for independent as a way out through which they can have their electorate vote for them again. So having that option again, I don't know, it's not going to work, it's not going to augur well with our new constitution, because that provision is already there. Yeah, that is my take.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I actually don't think that provision equates to the same. Just because somebody has presented themselves as an independent candidate doesn't mean that you like them. They may have failed securing a nomination in a political party, or they may have opted not to go the political party route at all, but come in as an independent candidate. And they qualified and they got through the IEBC nomination process. They're there as an independent candidate. If you still don't like that person, what is your option? That's the one we're talking about. Still on the phone lines, 0719-012-600. Let's take a quick break so that we can take a look at what's happening in terms of the weather and traffic on the roads. And then we'll pick more of your calls. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, 28 minutes to 10.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, Jeshi la Wokovu.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Welcome to SpiceFM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
At 17 degrees, Nairobi is mostly cloudy. Highs of 25 and lows of 12 today. In Nakuru, partly sunny conditions at 18. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. Nyeri is cloudy at 16. Highs of 24. Coming down to lows of 13. We're looking at cloudy conditions in Eldoret. Warming up today. Highs of 24 and lows of 14. Kisumu is sunny at 25. Highs of 29. And lows of 18. Kakamega today sunny as well at 26, highs of 28 and lows of 14. We're looking at still light rainy Mombasa at 27, highs of 29 and lows of 24. And Malindi sunny at 27, highs of 29 and lows of 25. Let's look out into Kampala where it's sunny at 22, lows will be 18, highs of 26. And in Dar es Salaam this morning, partly cloudy conditions. We will see highs then of 29, either 30 and lows of 22. In Lagos, light rain at 23, highs of 29, and in Johannesburg, it's 19 degrees and sunny, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Kinshasa is sunny at 25, highs of 34 and lows of 24. Out in Beijing at 25, it's sunny, 26 will be the high and lows of 18. London this morning is cloudy. We will see highs of 19 and lows of 15. And Paris, raining this morning at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 18. New York is clear, coming early Tuesday morning, 21. And the moon going to highs of 27, back down to lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so this morning traffic was sleeping on Mombasa Road, and as of about an hour ago, things have gone from bad to crazy. Now, let me just explain to you what's going on, right? Coming inbound the city, there is one lane that is available for use this morning. The others have been closed off because of the construction. The ICD route that would normally offer you that good option is completely blocked, and folks are turning back. So it's going to be a crazy day. It started off without too much of an issue, and voila, bam, there we are. Mombasa Road is going to cause a lot of problem for folks this morning. We're officially out of traffic hour, but looks like this has just started now. If you're not on Mombasa Road and you don't have to be, please do not. If you're on Mombasa Road and you must be, the option is to be aware that the ICD route is not available now, and we have to stick through this at least until you get to Cabanas. So that's where our eye is this morning. It looks pretty bad. But we'll take us of information in terms of where you can find as an option. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
24 minutes to 10. The conversation continues. 0719-012-600. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Levi says, I don't get large from this one. What you're fronting is unrealistic. And OFAB says, citizen participation should be a must. Also, the addition of a box for none of the above is a checkmate. It's saying, get it right or start over. The influence on candidates will reduce. It's a brilliant idea which should be taken by the IEBC. Grid says, indeed, let's not be constrained into an either-or situation, because that's how bad leaders get into office. The voter must learn to be discerning and elect persons who have a performance track record and untainted by corruption. For example, Kivuda Kibwana. Chalubai says, is the option a public window to nullify an election? And if so, then how does it go if the rejected candidates get back to the ballot? I think it's logic to involve everyone in the nomination process. That the only objection during or after elections is that of rigging or something happening, a fraud happening in the election itself. And James Wakebia is asking, is there any democratic country that has this none of the above option in its elections? I find it very meaningless, especially in Kenya. Your idea imetoka from just the fact that we interact with a none of the above, right, even in the exams.
Eric,
multiple choice question.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and looking at that option. But if you look at the rumblings here, from a lot of people who've spoken to us this morning, what is it? That there's this cry for participation at the very basic level, at the introduction level of politics, at the introduction level of nominations, that let people be participating at that point. Because what it does is that then it eliminates this issue where, you're going to get somebody on the ballot that you don't like or that you don't resonate with. So if you're involved in the ingredients to put this food together, when you're going to partake, you're more likely to be satisfied with the result because you were involved in the process.
Yes.
I can see where the none of the above option would assist in making that happen. But I still feel that we need to be extremely insistent, almost deliberate, on making sure that the people who will either benefit from the process of choosing a leader or suffer from the process of choosing a leader must be involved from the very beginning. Absolutely. Because and
to safeguard the voice of the people, you have this option at the very end. Okay? So this is basically like as what somebody has said, it's a checkmate. I have wanted to participate in the electoral in the party itself. Not just at the nomination day, but throughout. In the election political party, does the political party champion good governance? Does the political party encourage the good candidates to come forth? Does the political party look out for good candidates and actually prop them throughout the process? Does the political party know that if we don't get the right candidate, this candidate will not get elected?
Sure, but I think I have to insist.
If you don't do all those things, then the checkmate right there is if a majority of the voters say none of the above, then that tells you as a political party you failed.
Sure. With the participation that I'm talking about, then the likelihood of you having to use this ace then is reduced.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we must also understand that this participation that we are talking about is not by invitation. Nobody's going to say, do you think that people don't like the fact that Kenyans are not participating? They love it. Because they know then that nobody is involved in the process, and whatever it is that they need to do, they can do without any eyes.
Yes.
This participation is not by invitation, it is on insistence. That if you want to actually have a hand in controlling the outcomes of governance and leadership, you must be bullish or deliberate in your attempt. Don't sit back and wait and say, okay, Kenyans from place X, Kenyan plus place from place B, please come and share. No. You must be bullish in that, because then also what it does is whomever these individuals are, they realize and understand that folks are not going to take bad governance sitting down, that folks are not going to take irrational decisions sitting down, because from the very beginning, they had you in check along all the posts that were set up. They're educated, they're informed, they're participating, they're insisting.
All those things that we are saying, Ndu, presently, the laws are very clear on those. The Political Parties Act is very clear on this. The Constitution is very clear on this.
But
that political
it doesn't happen.
That's exactly why I'm saying bring this S. To make the parties do what they should do, bring this S at the very end and say, if you give us candidates that we don't agree with, we shall send you back to the whole process. John in Nyandarua, good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Very
Good
well,
morning,
thanks,
John.
John. How are you?
Yes, very fine. How you guys doing?
Well, we've been fine. John, we spoke with your governor and we asked him about the hospital in Henny. And
Hello?
Hello, John.
Yes.
We spoke with your governor. Did you hear him on air?
You spoke with our governor?
Yes.
I didn't hear. I was away.
John, there's something wrong with your line. Just try calling again with a clearer line. Let's see if we can get you. Rono in Eldoret, good morning.
Morning to you, gentlemen and ladies.
Good morning,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Uh-huh.
A bit of cold here and there, but yeah well.
Pole.
Now, this idea of none of the above option.
Yes.
Are you trying to hold everyone at ransom for not having your candidate on the ballot?
Yes.
What stops you from getting your candidate as an independent?
You see, if I have my candidate, John, Rono,
The
listen.
point is,
If I have a preferred candidate, I'm going to vote for them. If I don't have a preferred candidate, I am not going to vote for the others.
Hello.
Rono, are you there?
Okay.
Are we getting an issue with our lines? I hope not. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good morning,
well.
Anthony.
My take is,
I think it is, and I think nilikuwa nimechangia this in another time you had a similar discussion, and my option was that if we want our political parties to pay attention to the nomination process, let us increase the number of independent MPs in parliament. People will start paying attention, because for some time now, if I am inclined to support a particular candidate who is in a particular party, this three-piece business started a long time. So if I have ODM for president, governor, blah, 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 goes all the way down. But now politics have changed. Now we are starting to look at individuals. But now what has happened is also the leaders have known, if, for example, UDA is what is the one that will sweep Rift Valley, I just need to get an UDA ticket. So if they are not democratic, they'll just give whoever pays the highest. And they have a higher probability of getting into parliament. But can you imagine UDA, for example, in the next government, you find 50% of MPs
from Rift Valley are independent. That will click something.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we never listen to the people. Yes, they delivered on the presidency, but members of parliament, independent, are a big majority from our stronghold.
Yeah.
Definitely, as a party, they'll have to sit down and say there's something that we did wrong.
So you think
And
this
they'll
participation now needs to happen at the nomination level?
Honestly speaking, I've never seen nominations for a party for an MP. Honestly, personally, that is for me. Because I am busy here. I don't know even the day
they happen.
They say it happened.
You know, Ndu,
But-
you are looking even at nominations. Tell me one political party that has held national grassroots elections in this country in the last 20 years.
And now, even that I'm talking about. This is not what this is exactly
That's
what I'm
it.
talking about. That you
To
have to
force
get
these
extremely
parties to do the
granular.
right thing,
You have to get granular.
we must
If
get
not-
things to make them do the right thing. One of them was a very brilliant idea with the Constitution, and that's what Anthony is talking about, and that is independent candidates. So that we make sure that a candidate does not have to go through the process of buying the vote, the ticket. They can basically come directly to us. That is one.
That is the point.
And there is another one. Even if you got the independence, and then you for some reason, Anthony, because you've been busy, you have not participated in the political party nominations, but you've also seen you've got into the ballot. There are several independent candidates, but they are all cut from the same cloth. They are all sharks, and you don't like any of them. Currently, you're forced to choose one who is the better devil. And I'm saying, give you another option that says, I don't want a devil at all. I want an angel.
But election is simple majority.
Yes.
So, if, for example, we have 100 votes, 50% of those votes are none of the above.
Yes.
The 50 will be divided into the 4 devils.
Yes. But the 50%,
And someone will
the none
be
of
an
the... No, Anthony. With this proposal, the proposal goes further to say, if the none of the above is a majority, that counts. Nullify that election.
Unfortunately, it has to go through parliament for it to be
Kwani bunge iko masi, iko hapa, tutachange.
Sasa si bunge ndio hao.
Same people. You don't like the food. You're giving it back to the same people who cooked it to recook it for you and give you a product that you like.
They will know.
BCI.
By the way, the option for ODM we don't like, the option for Jubilee we don't like, the option for UDA we don't like. The 3 guys will gang up and make sure this thing does not pass. If they want, even if it's 60% of the population, the 30 will divide among us.
Don't be defeated, Anthony. The people united can never be defeated.
Right.
John in Jandaro is back. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. You can hear me now?
Yes, John. It's better. It's better.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, fine. Now, you have a very, very good debate. A very intelligent one, because we shall have the opportunity of adding something which has been lacking on the ballot paper. But this cannot work as long as we have the current setup of political parties, hundreds of political parties. Because most of these political parties we have in this country belong to individuals. They are personalized. And that is why we always have a very undemocratic nomination processes at the party level. We had it in the last general elections. We did Jubilee and other parties.
Yeah.
And this ended up with the election of people who were not actually qualified to be in those positions, which made the country to have leaders, a majority of leaders who have the spirit of Barnabas, shall I say.
Yes.
Now what we should do in order to improve on that process, we should have a registration where we should have 2 political parties in this country. And I've said this before. 2 political parties and the option of an independent candidate. This would solve our problem. At the same time, we should make party registration a compulsory or something essential during the voting process. When you're going to vote, you should vote with the registration, with the party registration certificate.
So you want people to be forced to belong to political parties?
Yeah, they should belong to a particular political party.
For the purpose of being involved in the process?
Yeah, come on.
For the purpose of being involved in the process?
Exactly, for us to be involved in the process. In other words, the politics of political parties should be put into our DNA.
Sure.
We should belong to a particular party. And we should have only 2 political parties in order to divorce the individual ownership of political parties.
Of parties.
Yeah.
Interesting idea. Actually, we'll have one of those one of these days. We'll have that conversation. Should we have few giant parties, or should we have many parties? Like what we were told by the president of Estonia. They have many parties, and that helps them to retain equilibrium. No single party has... In Estonia, a country of less than 1 million voters, it's a parliamentary democracy. No single party carries the day. Imagine a million. Just look at Kiambu County. Those voters in Kiambu, no single party carries the day. They have to form government through coalitions.
Exactly. They have to form through coalitions. But if we could go to the system of America, I think the system of America is the best. Because if we had more parties, just like Estonia, we would have the problem that Israel had. Trying to form the government would be a problem.
Constantly.
Exactly. So in order to avoid that, let's have 2 political parties, similar to what we have in America.
Okay.
Then we would have solved all these problems. For instance, now the position is we have UDA now, a new party. And as we speak now, we know who will be UDA's candidate in Moranga for governorship, who will be UDA's governorship for Nakuru.
Yeah.
And the others will not have their democratic way of contesting through the UDA. And this is what happened in Jubilee last time. People were hard hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy.
So we were telling you, John, we spoke to your governor, and he was telling us, Francis Kimemia, and we asked him about your hospital in Henny. And the reason why the beds had been removed. And he said, yes, they had been removed because they were putting them together in one giant place that was going to be a COVID center. But now the beds are coming back.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
yeah, they're on the way.
We don't know when, but
they're walking. It's a long distance from Olkalau to Henny. So it'll take a while before they walk, and they have to stop somewhere. They have to drink water. Zinakuja.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I wish I had the opportunity.
We thought you were listening, but it's okay.
He has also done very well. He has sunk a borehole now.
So the water issue might be...
Yeah?
The water issue might be a bit less difficult?
Yeah, it's very difficult right now. But I think with the thinking of the borehole, I think things are going to be all right.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have him in the studio one of these days again, and then probably you can call in and ask him a couple of questions.
I'll be very, very happy. I'll do that.
Asante sana.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Kenya's biggest conversation, it continues. Just read some of the comments on social media as well.
Peter Waimenti says, a noble idea, but again, I've never heard of politics or politicians who can be labelled none of the above, unless you're advocating for blank ballots, which is an impossibility even in the so-called global leaders in democracy. I think we can do away with politicians and simply convert Kenya into a limited company with a CEO. Easier and cheaper to kick out failed leadership. Okay. John Mwangi says it will be a wake-up call to party leaders and parties to consider and ponder well before they present various candidates for different elective posts, and will alleviate ditching parties, for there will be no aggrieved candidates.
Okay. Somebody there is saying, be serious, Eric. Just go back to the top. Come on, Eric. That's just dumb. Simply don't go out and vote.
Well,
I think that's not what is done.
that's the problem. You don't vote, you don't participate.
The thing is, in the last election, like we've said, 20% of the people did not come out to vote. Are those considered an important statistic? No. That's a fifth of the registered voters did not come out to vote.
It's a big number.
Is it because they were sick that day? Is it because they were out of the country? Is it because they just did not want to come out and vote? Imagine if they had an opportunity to come out and say why exactly they did not want to participate in that particular exercise. Then you'd get to know why is it that 20% of our voters did not want to come out to vote. Even those 80% that came out to vote did all vote willingly and wholeheartedly for the people that they voted for. And I'm going to keep saying that no. There are many people who just went and voted because you've been told these are the candidates.
Just go and pick a number.
Pick a number between 1 and 10. And you must stick there. The issue of nominations and making sure that people participate in nominations of political parties, that's very good. But that's also at the very tail end. What should be happening is right now we should be talking about which political party has actually conducted its elections, which political party has proper membership. No party can tell you who its members are. Ask ODM, who you are the oldest political, well, apart from KANU, ODM, you're a very old political party in this country. You're in parliament. Who are your members? But they cannot tell you. They'll give you some register there, and we saw from the register of political parties the other day, there are people who are members of ODM. They had no clue they're members of ODM.
And do we see political party participation in the things that they say they actually want to do? No. The vast amount of time is spent in what? Recruitment of members to the party.
They don't even recruit members
even
to the party.
The supposed ideologies that they say they follow. Where do we see the practice of such? Because that is actually what is supposed to happen.
They do not recruit members. We saw a little bit of recruitment of members to the party last year or the year before by NARC Kenya, and that just faded away. Today, ODM is talking about how they're going to start organizing themselves to select delegates who are going to pick their presidential candidate. And those other candidates are there. How is that being conducted? Jubilee requested the Register of Political Parties for a 3-year window so that they can have the interim candidates, the interim party leaders. And then after 3 years, they're going to have elections. That election was supposed to happen last year. They haven't done any election. Now it's UDA. UDA is talking about, it's leadership. When are they going to have an election? We don't have an issue here. It's just
okay.
Honorable Kemboy is saying, I think this party issue should not be a do or die thing. I think people should encourage to vie even as independent candidates, so people can vote for a leader of their choice, and that's very true. Encourage candidates to come out in whatever form, independent, through a political party system. Those that feel that this candidate has been presented by a political party and we actually agree with them, it's fine. Those that feel that this candidate has come out and they are gunning independently, but this is the idea that they have for the betterment of the people, for representation of the people, that's fine. They get voted for. And if none of the above exists,
go back to the drawing board.
Go back.
Send them back to their own drawing board. Let them draw a different picture.
Let's draw a different picture. Let's start afresh. Let's see if we can look for a candidate that then makes us feel a bit better. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation today. Jubilee has a membership list and a membership form for membership recruitment drive. I've been sent this by the spokesperson of the Jubilee Party. Okay. So where is it? How many members do you have? Okay, that's a conversation we'll have another day. Thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now until 11, you have some uninterrupted music, and then Sugar and Spice are going to be here from 11 until 2. More music, and then 3, Quatch. And then you go home with Quatch until 7. Adults in the room until 10. We'll be back tomorrow. Lovely day, folks. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life